What's up, and welcome back to another live stream with GizmoSlipTech. Today we've got the Acer Nitro 16. We're gonna unbox this bad boy. I'm really excited. This is definitely one of the best bang for the buck mid-range laptops that comes with a premium quality screen. At least on paper. Acer claiming 500 nits brightness. We're going to test that today. We've got a lot of different things that we'll be testing today on this laptop, and it's going to be quite detailed. So as you can see, we're going to start off with top deals value comparison versus the competition. Then we are going to move on to unbox the laptop, check out everything that's inside the laptop, check the quality control of the laptop, do a flex test. We're going to disassemble the laptop and check for upgradability. We're going to analyze and review the ports. We're going to check webcam quality and look at Windows Hello. We're going to test the keyboard and mouse and evaluate what I think about them, including the backlight. Then we're going to do a display test and find out how bright the screen is, how colorful it is, as well as how contrasty. Speaker test with a decibel meter, and I'll give you my impressions of the speakers. Fan noise testing with the decibel meter. We'll see how loud the fans are. And then in addition, we are going to do a bunch of performance testing, starting with synthetic Cinebench R23, Time Spy, and moving on to 10 different games. And then we're going to summarize everything that we have found out about the Acer Nitro 16. So without further ado, I see people are hopping into the live stream. Welcome, welcome. I invite you to like the live stream and hit that subscribe button. Let's go. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to the top deals and comparing the Nitro 16 versus the very best competition out there. So first we have, the first thing you should know is that there is this laptop list spreadsheet that has literally every laptop you can possibly buy that's of any value really or consideration, pretty much. At least from a USA market perspective, and many international links are now also on this list. And our top deals section covers the best value gaming laptops out there. If you're getting more than $10 or 10 points per dollar on your laptop, it's an absolutely insane deal. I've got about 10 different laptops for you to consider. Alternatives to the Nitro 16. We're going to go over all of these alternatives first. Most of these are in the $1,000 to $1,500 range, a couple above that point. But when they go on sale, maybe they'll dip down into that under $1,500 category. So starting off, let's talk about the Nitro 16 and all the different configurations that you can have with the Nitro 16. So you've got all the way down to an RTX 4050, currently on sale for $949, normally $1,000. You got the another 4050 version with a QHD screen though for $1150. So if you just want the screen upgrade, but you're okay with lower power RAM and GPU and CPU, then that's one way you can get the better screen at a discounted price. Nitro 16 4050 with fully featured RAM, 1TB SSD, full HD plus 400 nits screen for $1,200. It's pretty that's, to me, none of these deals are particularly good except maybe this top one. This top one might be worth considering, definitely worth considering. The Nitro 16 with a 4060 full HD screen, $1299. It's probably not that great of a deal at this point because I was able to snag this QHD 4070 version for $1349 when it was on sale a couple weeks ago. So this is the version that we'll be reviewing today, the Nitro 16 Ryzen 7 100 or 7735HS. This is the version right here. Same listing. 165 hertz, full HD. Well, actually, no, that's not the right one. This is the right one. QHD plus 165 hertz, 500 nits display. Supposed to be 100% sRGB. We'll have to see if that is correct or not. Then we've got an RTX 4070. It should be maximum wattage of like at least 105, 110 watts. At least in theory, should be that high. And we got a couple other configurations of the RTX 4070, one with a higher end CPU here. And it looks like these last two, also another even higher end CPU. So there are basically three different configs with the 4070 with slightly better CPUs. I think this bottom level is probably the right way to go if you're trying to save some money. And again, this was on sale a couple weeks ago for $13.49. So that's the deal that we're discussing today. If you had bought that, was it a great deal or not? And most likely, these are the type of, you can see that a lot of these laptops are on sale, right? Most of these are on sale for the Nitro 16. So, and this one currently is not on sale at $14.99. At $14.99, I feel like this is still a good value. With a QHD screen, at least if all of the specs are accurate on paper, then we're getting a good value out of this laptop at $14.99. Very competitive pricing at $14.99. When it went on sale for $13.49, I was like, holy crap, this is probably one of the best deals that money can buy right now in gaming laptops because of the high quality display and the RTX 4070 at such a low price. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about all the different options out there. And let me check chat real quick as well. Review the Legion Slim 5, please. My plan is to order that today, actually, after the live stream. So here's the Acer Nitro 5. This one's currently on sale. It has a 3070 Ti. I've been talking about this one for a couple weeks. I think it's a phenomenal deal overall. At least in theory, it is one of the best bang for the bucks out there with the highest GPU performance per dollar on the entire sheet, 1135. QHD high quality display, not as bright as the one we're doing today, but a 3070 Ti with a great screen and a good CPU. This is a great value at $969. MSI Katana 15, an i7 12650H RTX 4070, 16 gigs of RAM. This is $1159 for an RTX 4070. It's phenomenal value from a GPU performance per dollar perspective with a 4070, $9.75. That said, it's like one of the lowest quality displays you can buy on a laptop. So if you really want a better display, don't buy this one. That's basically, if you want a good quality display, don't buy this one. If you're okay with a dimmer display that's lower color gamut, you can get this one and use it with an external monitor, for example, most of the time. If you just need more of a portable PC and you don't need to use it in daytime very often, I did do a detailed review of this one. But that's kind of my summary of this one, is that it's a good buy if you don't mind having a crappier display quality and a dimmer display. The Legion Slim 5. So this is another alternative. Right now it's on sale for $999 with an RTX 4060 and a Ryzen 5 7640HS. This thing is going to be a very slim profile. And this is one that I plan on actually ordering for review today. So we'll be able to do a hands-on unboxing of this one very soon. HP Omen 16. I'd say overall this is great value at $1,000 by the way. I think it's a great value at $1,000. Omen 16 i7 13700HX. It's an upgraded CPU with extra E cores, RTX 4070, 16 gigs of DDR5, 1 terabyte SSD, QHD, 240 Hz display for $1499. This is one of the best competitors to the Nitro 16 from a value perspective. I did an unboxing of the HP Omen 16 if you want to check it out. But the one I did an unboxing of was a lower end version of it. So I'm not sure exactly how these exact configs or these exact specs are going to perform in this chassis. But from a value perspective, this nails value on the money right here. Aorus 15X, I got my hands on with this laptop when I was at CES. I actually did get to check out the laptop in person. Feels very slim, very portable, and it's got a nice chassis all around. I do like Aorus as a brand, but I did an Aorus 17X review and their software wasn't quite fully optimized as well as I would like, which led me to not being able to recommend the Aorus 17X as much. Now, hopefully the Aorus 15X with the 4070, it's going to be configured properly. And you got almost the same exact specs on here as the Omen 16, but of course with an Aorus chassis and Aorus parts. So up to you. It's on sale right now for $1599. So a little bit more money. Asus Strix G16. This has got the maxed out i9-13980HX processor, RTX 4060, and a QHD 500 nits display with a higher color gamut of 100% P3 color gamut. So this Strix G16 has the highest end CPU, and basically, unless you jump up to a mini LED display, this has the highest end display that you can get as well, or very close to it. So you got some nice RGB on this laptop, and Obviously, excellent CPU performance. If you're after CPU performance, multi-core rendering, potential performance, or esports gaming performance, this laptop is phenomenal. It's one of the best CPU performance for your money. 1650 with this much CPU performance should be getting close to 30,000 in Cinebench R23 and a very portable package. It's a bit chunky, but it's still a 16-inch chassis, so yeah. Of course, there is the more budget Strix G16 right now. It's $1339 currently priced with the RTX 4060 and the lower end i7 13650HX and a decent quality full HD 165 Hz display. Yeah, so this one is also good value and definitely a competitor to the Nitro 16, but I would probably say it's best to kind of wait for it to go, I don't know. This one probably under, if it dips below, I don't know, around 1250, a little under 1300, that's when I'd say it's a really good deal. Right now at the current price, it's a decent deal. It's certainly not bad, but you know, you're getting a lot of RGB and some fancier speakers and stuff like that with this chassis, and a really nice cooling system with this chassis too for the money. And last but not least on this overview, we've got the Legion Pro 5. Ryzen 7 7745HX, so you get a next-gen processor, RTX 4070, and a QHD 165 Hz 300 nits display. All right, there are some coupons to keep in mind as well. Extra 5 and buy more Lenovo is the coupon codes to keep in mind. 1420, so currently $80 cheaper than this Nitro 16. But the display is rated at 200 nits dimmer. And yeah, other than that, that's probably your primary trade-off. Obviously, it's a different chassis, different port layout and everything, but it's in a very similar vein as the Nitro 16 that we're going to be going over and reviewing today. So that's kind of the overview of the primary competitor laptops right now to the Nitro 16. I'm sure I missed a couple of them, but that's the vast majority of the ones that I would consider. Obviously, I think the best bang for the buck is going last gen right now for $969 with this Nitro 5. But that's only if you're trying to save some money and you know it's more of a budget-ish display, or at least a more budget-ish chassis. The display is supposed to be higher quality. Again, I have not reviewed this specific model, but I've done the 3050 Ti version of this laptop. So anyway, yeah, this is probably the best value currently to date if you're after just raw gaming performance. And out of all of the laptops I talked about today, I do think this Nitro 16, if it's on sale at $1349, absolutely likely one of the very best deals that money can buy in gaming laptops. At $1499, it's just a good deal, a very good deal, I think, or at least pretty good, I think, if all of the claims hold up and it's 500 nits brightness and all of that. So, going back to our list, we're going to go over. We've done our top value comparison. Let me check with chat and see if there's any other questions. All right, Don, I'm going to do the 4060 version of the 5 Slim. Speaking of Legion laptops with Ryzen, no signs of the Legion Pro 7 with Ryzen yet. Interesting. What's up, AJ? Do you ever review pre-built PCs like the NZXT? I've reviewed a couple of pre-built PCs, but that's not usually been my focus. Usually focus on laptops. Is a 14-inch mini LED worth it over the 16-inch Nebula? It's probably not necessarily a big focus or a big difference there between those two. Anyway, all right, so let's move into our Nitro 5 unboxing. Now that we are ready to continue, slide this up here. Beautiful. All right. So, this thing's got a pretty basic box. You can see it's got the Nitro logo out on front. And it's also a pretty simple unpackaging process. There was an external box that was used to ship the laptop. This was not the external box. This is the secondary shell. All right. right, so we got our power brick. And we've got our laptop in a foam container there. Scapo asks, what's your recommendation for video editing laptops under 2K? Scapo is one of my friends in real life, if you guys don't know. He's got special privileges. Okay, so this is probably the best one for under 2000 because you get the i9 processor, at least if you want CPU performance. And then the other one to really consider would be like this MSI Vector GP68. This has an i9 as well, but less cores, but it's got a 4080. So if you're using NVIDIA CUDA cores to boost your video editing, then this one would be very good. The only problem is the display quality on this one's not that great. So whereas the Strix has a really high quality display and a good quality CPU, and it's good enough GPU to really play most games too, as long as you turn down a few settings in the latest games. So anyway, okay, continuing on with the unboxing, I'm going to try to keep the questions focused mainly on the laptop we're reviewing today, just so people watching the live stream can continuously, focus on the content of this laptop. Will you review the Lenovo Lock? So yeah, my goal is to order a Lenovo Lock and a Slim 5 today. Those are my two laptops I want to order. Okay, so we got this in the box. Got a question about, hold on. Got a question about your Acer device? Ask us. So support.acer.com, also the number 1-866-661-7100. That's 4 6s. Yeah, so there you go. That's, I guess, your support line. We've also got our Nitro 16 setup guide. All right, so I will try to make this so you can, if you want to really take a look at this, you can. There we go. Just pause it and take a look. Hopefully you can read everything there. But it's got guides to what all the different ports and objects are. Of course, we're going to go over all of that info today. FCC documents. Then we've got a brown packaging box here, or brown packaging bag. Manufacturer date was March 29th. So this was made about 4 months ago. Kind of interesting that they put the manufacturer date on there like that. All right, and what's in this envelope? Let's find out. There we go. So we got Planet 9. Planet 9 GG stickers. All right. Then we've got our International Traveler's Warranty card. Last time I delved into this, it was basically like, as long as you're in an internationally supported warranty country, you can usually get warranty support, even if you're not inside the United States, as long as you bought it when you're in a country that also is supported with a warranty and you travel to the other countries that are supported by a warranty. If you go to a country where they don't support the warranty, you'll probably have to take the laptop back into a country that supports the warranty before you can get it serviced. That would be my understanding. Then they also have your warranty agreement here. Of course, if you damage the laptop yourself, you're going to be out of luck. It's a 1-year parts and labor, mail-in or carry-in warranty. All right. So, and there's another support number right there. For the United States, 8666-952237. So that's 3 6s this time. They really like doing 666 in their support numbers, which is odd. Just kidding. Okay, so that's all the little documents. Let's take a look at the power. Here is the power brick. Let's see how big it is. All right. So first up, we have the power cable. It's solid, close to 6 feet long, like a full-length power cable. Then we have our power brick. All right, so there's the power brick. And you can see it's a Chicone 330 watt. So you're getting a full 330 watts with this RTX 4070 for some reason. I have no clue why. It's never going to need that much juice, but you do. So I don't know. I would assume that a laptop like this would usually get like a 240 watt or maybe a 300 watt at most. Maybe a 280. I think a 280 would probably be what a lot of manufacturers would send with this, at least if it's got a CPU that also wants a lot of juice. But I mean, the nice thing is, you know, obviously this is going to supply plenty of juice for the laptop. You'll never have to worry about that aspect of the laptop, because some laptops do get underpowered, causing the laptop to drain battery while it's being utilized. All right, so there's that. Foam bricks removed. Let's go ahead and put those back into the box. All right, and here is the laptop. Shabam. All right, notice we got this new etching, or I guess plastic paint. Yeah, I think this is paint. This is etched. This Nitro holographic logo is etched, and then this is a pink purplish paint and a blue paint. In an N symbol. So if you flip it the other way, okay. We also have a little cloth thing for the keyboard mouse area. But let me go ahead and show you what I mean. So when you flip this way, now it's an N. So that's what that looks like. And if I were to zoom in here on the Nitro symbol, you know, you can see. It is holographic. It looks pretty cool. I appreciate the little detail there. And I do think that new Nitro logo looks pretty cool as well. All right, so here's the laptop laid out. It's not turned on yet. Let's go ahead and do a quality control and flex test as our opening little gambit here. So flex test going around the sides. Minimal flex, just a little bit. On the keyboard here, we definitely got a bit of moderate flex, I would say. Minimal flex over here again. So, you know, typically you don't put your hands in the middle on the space bar here. So that's, a lot of laptops have this as a weak point. All right, not much flex in the front here. Going around the left, a little bit of flex. On the top, no flex. Minimal flex here in the middle top right, no flex. Minimal flex along the right. And I did press the power button. So the laptop is coming on. Whoops. All right. Now, as the laptop turns on, I'm going to go ahead and just press some of these keys down. I'm looking for any loose keys or keys that are not embedded properly. I'm not feeling I'm not feeling anything messed up. This keyboard is a lot like the keyboard I'm going to go and shut the laptop back down again. This keyboard's a lot like all the other Nitro 5s that I've tried recently. I think it's the exact same layout, as a matter of fact, as those other Nitro, like Nitro 5 that has a 16-inch chassis. So very similar. Okay, so yeah, no quality control issues there. Let's take a look at the hinge. The hinge is, I'd say, a bit looser than I would ideally like. Once you get back into the normal range, it's pretty good. A bit of wobble to it after you let it go, but I'd say it's about average in terms of hinge stiffness. It's not poor. It's certainly like strong enough to hold the laptop steady. Now the hinge design, you can see it's two separate. We got two separate hinge connector points here. All right, they raise up and go back. And as long as these are well designed, theoretically, they can last a really long time. The main point of weakness is if there's any kind of disconnect between the swivel and usually the display part. Maybe sometimes they're glued or maybe not screwed in correctly, or that little metal piece or plastic piece breaks. But theoretically, these hinges should be all right. We'll see. It's one of those things where you can't know until it starts breaking on a lot of laptops. And I've not really seen any Nitro's hinge breaks being reported on any websites or anything like that. So, all right. Very nice. Let's see here. So we've got what else we gotta do next? All right, let's go ahead and analyze and review the ports next. So here is our Nitro 16. Let's pop over to the tech specs and see if there is a section that talks about the ports. I'm not seeing anything on the ports there. Let's go ahead and pop over maybe to... So this is the official Newegg website. Let's see if their ports are in the specs in here. Not seeing it. All right, here's some specs. Okay, so interesting. This specs lists one USB-A 2.0. Interesting. It also lists one USB 4 with 65 watt power delivery, and then a USB-C with DisplayPort and 65 watt power delivery. HDMI 2.1, so good display out there. And yeah, I don't know. That's really interesting that it says there's a USB-A 2.0 on here. Let's take a look around the laptop here. All right, so on the right side, we have two. I'm going to lift this up here and focus in. All right, so we have two USB-As right here. These are probably 3.2s right here that we are talking about. And we also have a couple status indicator lights for charging or sleep mode here. We also have a Kensington lock and an exhaust for the right side. On the rear of the laptop, we have our USB-Cs. And notice there is no Thunderbolt 4. Of course, this is a Ryzen laptop. So one of these is USB 4, which has the same theoretical throughput as Thunderbolt 4, but it doesn't have Thunderbolt 4 certification. The other one is just USB 3.1 or 3.2 or whatever that the website was saying. It says 3. It literally doesn't say whether it's 3.1 or 3.2. It just says slash. HDMI 2.1 here on the back. So if you wanted to use an external monitor like a 4K 120 hertz, you can use this HDMI 120 hertz to do that, or a high refresh rate gaming display. Of course, you got to use a high output HDMI cable as well if you do that, not just any HDMI. Then we've got an Ethernet port here on the right with a bottom facing Ethernet out. So you're gonna have to dig under the laptop and lift up and pull. Then we've got our USB-A. Looks like this is the 2.0. So this is where you want to plug your mouse in or keyboard in for basic throughput, maybe a headphones or something if you're using USB headphones. But yeah, that's our 2.0 port. So low quality port here on the left side. We have a micro SD card slot and a headset combo port as well there. So overall, we've got 5 total USBs, an HDMI 2.1, and a micro SD card slot, no mini display port, and this is a low quality USB port. The front, of course, no ports here on the front. So that's kind of a port overview. I would say the ports on this are pretty good. They're not bad. They're not necessarily amazing, but they've got a pretty decent port selection overall. And the port quality is there. Like, it's the most important things, like having USB 4 and HDMI 2.1 and having at least 5 USBs in total is there. So those are the main check marks for me. So that's good. Let's go ahead and take the laptop apart now. All right. So we're going to grab my handy dandy iFixit Tech Toolkit. There's a link in the description to this if you want to pick it up. You don't have to get this one. You can get something cheaper, but this has all the tools that you need to open every laptop, and it's a high-quality magnetic screwdriver toolkit. So looks like we just need your typical small Phillips head for taking this laptop apart. Plus, we're going to use at least probably one pry tool here, and probably going to need a guitar pick here as well. Most likely, maybe not. We'll see how easily it pops open, but let's go ahead and put that away for a second. All right, so let's just start taking screws out. And let me go ahead and get chat back up while we do this so I can respond to any questions. Yas says, for faster charging, I believe you're talking about the 330 watt power brick. That is true. You might be able to get a little bit faster charging with it when you're also putting the laptop under load. But typically, most power adapters are easily able to do the maximum charge rate for the battery, I would say, when the laptop is not under load. So even like a 240 watt power brick would still be able to charge the laptop at full speed when the laptop's like, you know, just you're browsing the web or you just have it plugged in. Because it's not going to go faster really between a 300 watt, 330 watt and 240 watt in that scenario. But maybe if the system is pulling a high amount of wattage at the same time. Okay. Haha says AMD plus 4070 equals 180 to 200 watts if the CPU is 50 watts or so, 330 watt for higher GPU model or Intel model. Yeah, I would tend to agree. That's why I was a little surprised that it's such a high power brick. But I mean, at least it's not as big as the other 330 watts. It's like the same like medium size power brick that you would get normally in like say the Asus laptop, or very similar in size to the Asus laptop. I think the MSI GE78 also uses the same exact power brick. Okay, so I think we have all of the screws out. They all were, let's see here. Yeah, I think they're all the same size, so I don't think you'll have to worry about keeping them organized, I don't think. But I usually do that anyway, just in case. All right, so move to the prying open stage. Into the AM. All right, so this is one of my favorite shirts. Shirt companies, they have some awesome designs, really high quality t-shirts. 10% off link in the description down below if you want to check that out. Okay, so we got to get an initial pry going, because as far as I can tell, there is no pop-up screw with this laptop. Also, I think there is a rear pop-off thing here. Yeah, so this little hinge cover comes off. Probably got to take that off before we can take the laptop apart, typically. There we go. All right, so that part is off now. And yeah, well, now that we got this exposed, we get a better look at the hinge. So right here, you can see we got our metal screw here and our swivel point right here. Hopefully this holds really well. All right, let's go and zoom back out. All right, so I think I'm gonna start the pry back here. I'm just gonna try to get the thing started. Yeah, I'm not really seeing a great place to get the pry going. I think I'm going to try going in on the front half again. They really did a good job protecting you from opening this thing. There we go. So now that I've got it started, I'm gonna get the guitar pick in there and take it around. All right, so that's usually what I do. It's usually works pretty well. Sometimes you may need to like get multiple guitar picks here. That's why they give you several in this kit. And you put, one guitar pick in, and then you can continue on with the guitar pick, a second one going down the line. There we go. So we got that entire section done. There we go. So we got the front half. We just have the back hinge area now. And just gently prying it, it comes out now. Bingo. All right, so finally got it all taken apart. Okay. Shabam. Ooh, that's pretty clean looking. That's very clean looking. Okay, so let's take a look at our internals. What's up, Ghost? You say you saw the launch of the 7945HX 3D? No, I haven't yet. Is that a new laptop CPU? I missed it. Thanks for mentioning it. I'll try to take a look at that real quick. 7945HX 3D. Ooh, the Scar 17X 3D. Oh ho ho ho. So 3D V-cache, 144 megabytes of on-chip memory. Wow. So that should help in highly CPU-bound games. That'd be very interesting to test that laptop now. That might be the best laptop for esports gaming. We'll have to see. Okay, so here is a 90 watt-hour battery. I'm a little disappointed they didn't put a 100 watt-hour battery in this, because look, we definitely have some space here. They could have fit a 100 watt-hour battery in this chassis almost for sure. And initially, my impressions here are also that there's quite a bit of extra space, like gaps, in this laptop between different things, between, some of this tech here. They really didn't maximize the space of the laptop's internals. Like given how much extra space there is on this motherboard, I wonder if they could have fit a third M.2 slot, or maybe like there's so much space around these speakers, they could have put in higher quality, bigger speakers, for example. So those are kind of some initial impressions right there. The speakers here do look a little small on the left and right sides. Looks like we have a MediaTek Wi-Fi here. So that's also a more budgety Wi-Fi. You can upgrade that for 20 bucks if you want to, though. It downloaded and worked just fine for me. But if you feel the need, you can do that. We got our 2 memory slots right here. So it is SODIMM, 2 different SODIMM slots for upgradability. And we do have our battery cable going from here to here. We've got a second M.2 slot right here. Let's see here. So the second M.2 goes from here to here. So it's a full-size 2280 SSD, and it looks like it would fit a double-sided SSD no problem. So that's really great. So let's see here. Let's see if we can take the RAM off and take a look at what we have on the inside. I'm just going to go ahead and do this with the battery attached for now. All right. And I don't know if we're not going to be able to see what RAM it is. They cover it in this black sticker. It's really annoying. All right, I got it to come up though. So it's an SK. There it is. SK Hynix 1RX16 PC5 4800. So this is DDR5 4800 RAM. It's not 5600. And it is SK Hynix, which is one of the most popular brands we've seen so far in 2023 for gaming laptop video memory. All right, so we can go ahead and put this back into our system here. There we go. I do recommend unplugging the laptop battery typically when you're adjusting or upgrading your RAM or adding an SSD. Okay, so let's take a look at our thermal systems on this laptop. So this is the heat pipe layout. Let me see if I can move this light over to give us a little better reflection so we can see everything a little better. So we've got 2 primary fans. No third fan anywhere. A lot of laptops this year, like the higher end, like the Strix G16 and some of the other ones, have a third fan for chassis heat, but this one skips that, and it's probably okay. The 4070 and this Ryzen chip shouldn't use too much wattage, making it too hot, and this cooling system looks like it's going to be just fine. So, interestingly enough, so we've got this dedicated heat pipe on the right. This goes to this exhaust. Then we've got another dedicated heat pipe here. And then we've got another dedicated heat pipe over here. So 3 dedicated heat pipes with 2 shared heat pipes going across the rear of the device. So that means that about half the heat generation will be split between the 2 fans, and half of the heat generation will be exclusive to just one side or the other. Now, usually the GPU has a lot more of the heat pipes here, and so I'm guessing this is the GPU side over here. But the interesting part is it's kind of hard to tell on this laptop which one's which. Usually there's like VRMs and everything, and this could be the VRMs, and this could be the GPU. I think this is the CPU. I think this is the GPU, if I were to guess. But I wouldn't know for sure until I lift it up. I'm not sure if there's a better way to tell for sure, if someone knows more specifically, if there's an actual engineer here. But yeah, so you'd have to undo these 8 screws right here if you wanted to lift it up. Okay, and it looks like there's some more screws here and here. Anyway, that's the heat pipe overview. I think this is going to be sufficient for keeping the system at a reasonable temperature, given the equipment we have inside not being too thermally demanding. But this is certainly not an overkill heat system. Like the Strix G16 with a 4060, it's kind of seemed like an overkill for the heat cooling thermal systems. But this one, not so much of an overkill. Anyway, that's the internals. I hope you enjoyed the overview. Let me see. Let's go ahead and back this up. And let's get this case put back on. All right, so I'm gonna start with the back, and I'm gonna make sure these ports are, you know, because they have little covers on them, and it looks like they kind of stick through the chassis a little bit. So I don't know if they don't really stick through, but they meld into like the end of the plastic, edge of the plastic. So you really want to make sure all the ports are not getting hung up, otherwise you'll potentially bend something. Same for these USBs over here. But I mean, this I guess that's just mainly the sides here. That's not where the bottom, you know, comes together. The front pop together very easily. The sides, this one also popped together very easily. Overall, putting it back together is pretty easy. No big issues there. Taking it apart was the trickier part, for sure. All right, and then we gotta pop in this hinge cover again. I'm pulling it forward and then pushing it down. Looks like we're fully engaged there. Now we can go ahead and put our screws back in. Beautiful. I'm trying to read chat as I put these screws away here. Looks like LSP is giving us his review of his Legion Pro 7i. What's up? Oh, we got a viewer from Ukraine. All right, well, best of luck to you guys in that war. Hope you guys win. Kick some Russian ass. Oh, I just oops. I just swore. Oopsies. Okay, all right. Yeah, it sounds like LSP is having a great time with his Legion Pro 7i, so that's great. All right, we got 3 more screws. Last one. Can finally reach that 1,500 FPS on Minecraft. Yeah, but do you have ray tracing on? So, I mean, if you don't have ray tracing on, I mean, does it even count? Okay, all right, so all our screws are back in. I usually do recommend just double checking that all of them are tight. Unless you plan on opening the laptop sometime soon again. But even then, you don't want to lose screws. All right. Shabam. All right, so there's the laptop. Let's go ahead and turn that puppy back on. We'll also get the power adapter plugged in. Wow, it boots up really fast. That boot up time is one of the fastest I think I've ever seen. So I don't know if you heard that. It went beep when I plugged it in. It seems like it's something designed from Acer's BIOS or something. Kind of annoying to me that it does it every time. But in some ways, it might be nice because you might not realize that you accidentally unplugged your laptop. And this way, you'll always know when, every time you make a, you might accidentally unplug it or something. Okay, so let's see here. So next up, We're going to test the webcam quality and see if it has Windows Hello. I don't think it does have Windows Hello. I think it's just a regular webcam. But we'll check Windows settings, see if it's available or not. All right, and also notice the fans. I don't know if you could hear those fans when they're started up, but we definitely have some loud fans here. Now, I do have it set to on max fan mode right now when I was testing it today. This Acer product registration window popped up when we booted up the system. Okay, so I'm just going to change it back to daily use so we don't have super loud fans. All right, cool. All right. That is the default background. I did not add that background to the laptop. That is what it came with. And you can see the backlight on the keyboard here. It's not super bright. Like you can see in the studio environment, you can kind of see the colors here. You're only going to really see the keyboard backlight when all the lights are off. And now you can see the full quality of the keyboard backlight. Let's make sure that the keyboard backlight is up all the way. It is. Currently, it's in wave mode. So wave mode is basically right to left across the 4 zones. So we got 1 zone, 2 zone, 3 zone, 4 zone. And we also have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 3 levels of brightness and off. All right. And if we were to go ahead and zoom in here on the keys. Starting from the top left, we have mute, volume down and up. And then we have, looks like I guess that's the lock button, a Windows lock button. Brightness down, brightness up. Display, if you want to do like your displays on F7. Microphone mute, airplane mode, trackpad off, keyboard brightness down and up. Print screen, which is your crop image screenshot mode basically. Insert and delete keys. And then, let's see here, I'll show you that again. All right, so, and then, so we have insert and delete and print screen. Then we have rewind, pause, play, forward, power button, and a number pad with full-size arrow keys. I love the functionality of this keyboard. We also have this Nitro button. This is how you launch your NitroSense, which is your application for controlling the whole laptop. And as far as I can tell, pretty much everything is in that one application, which is great. I do love that. All right, so that's your overview of the keyboard. Let's talk trackpad. All right, so trackpad, unfortunately, is a plastic trackpad. All right, that is really too bad, and you can see that you do get quite a bit of oil buildup for as far as looking on it. Like I basically just used this for a day installing the applications. I guess my fingers were pretty oily, but I mean, this trackpad works fine. It clicks a little bit mushier than some of the other ones, but this is definitely one of the features you might skip or not realize that you're not getting as good a quality with this laptop when you go to buy it, compared to say like the Strix G16, which has a glorious, all the Asus laptops have glass trackpads pretty much. So that's one downside of this Nitro 16 is this plastic trackpad. It's also not as big of a trackpad as some of the other laptops. It's not small. It's plenty big to actually use the laptop with. I think it's the right size. But definitely some of the newer laptops are just a little bit bigger on the sides and a little bit taller as well. So yeah, that's kind of one of the downsides there, okay? One other thing I just noticed is we do have this LED button over here. This is like what our power button used to be like. If I press this, you can see right there, it says mode switch key. So let me go and see if I can read that. Mode cycling, AC in, on battery equal, and then if you press it, it'll switch to turbo mode on and off with one click. Oh, so you can press this to cycle your modes, or you can have it just be turbo on off mode. So you can choose what you want it to be. I'll have it cycle the modes. So when we press this, it's going to cycle between balanced, performance, and turbo, and quiet. All right. That's what it's set to be, but you could also just have it be enable or disable turbo mode. Okay, so we'll just let's just go ahead and just click turbo. Let's click turbo. Also, when you click any of these, all right, you get a flash. It flashes your system with a different color. So you can, turbo is purple, performance is red, balanced is orange, quiet is blue, light blue. So kind of cool. I think that's pretty cool. And also here's where the global setting is. If you wanted to change that button, that mode switch after the fact, you would do that right there. All right, so there's also fan control. You can do auto fans, max fans, or a custom fan. So you can set either fan, left or right, to be whatever percentage you want it to be. The lighting for the keyboard is also tracked and controlled in here. So you have, we have quite a few different modes. We have static, wave, breathing, shifting, neon, zoom, twinkling, meteor. Let's go ahead and go through each of those. All right. We'll focus on the keyboard and I'll call out each one we do. So static, you can pick the color, change the color to be whatever you want. Wave, you can change the speed and direction. And it's just like kind of a rainbow color on the keyboard. Shifting is interesting. I'm manually changing the color. I would not want this. This is, what are they, what? This is like epileptic seizure mode or something. Meteor mode, I guess, bounces back and forth. And you can pick the color you want it to use, but you can't use like rainbow. Breathing brings a color, whatever color you want, on and off the laptop. Neon, that looks like it's just a color shift. Zoom, you go in and out of the 4 zones. Twinkling is just flashing at you. What are these? What are these lighting profiles? All right, so basically, you're probably either going to do wave or you're going to do static, and you pick the color you want. You can do a white color as well. You don't have to be colorful if you want to go into a business environment. Or you can do whatever for your static. Wave, I think, looks the best in terms of gaming RGB, though. So there you go. That's your overview of the keyboard and the control software for adjusting the lighting. Let's take a look at our webcam quality, all right? Is that a full-size keyboard? Yeah, it feels like a full-size to me. This is a large laptop, so it's a full-size laptop keyboard. I mean, and the keys, it feels good, but it is a membrane keyboard as far as actual typing quality goes. I think most people will be able to type on this, no problem. All right, so let's go to our camera app. Are you ready to see the webcam? Here we go. All right, is it any good? Let's find out. Okay. Well, let's adjust the hair a little bit. Yeah, okay, all right, sure. It is face tracking me. Let's take a couple photos. All right, and there's the quality. There's not much detail in the hairs. The colors are maybe a little bit bland. We also have this massive backlight, kind of a hard lighting scenario. Overall, I mean, it'll work just fine, but the camera certainly looks a little soft, is what I would say. Let's see if Windows Hello works. Says there is no camera compatible with Windows Hello. So no Windows Hello support, as I thought. All right, it's time to test our speakers system. What is the watts of this laptop? It should be a full wattage RTX 4070. Varnik says, hello from Ukraine. Great channel. Hello. Another Ukrainian. All right. We'll watch the replay as I always see you later. Already at 2 a.m. my place. Okay, Ghost. See you later. You'll probably hear this after the fact because I missed your initial comment. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. All right. So we are going to do our speaker test our 3 different songs and see if it's any good. All right. So, LSP says, have to rejoin the stream 2 times unskippable ads in a short span. Thanks for dealing with ads, everyone. I know YouTube platform can be a little bit wonky with ads and stuff, but it does help support me when you deal with them. So thank you very much for your another way of supporting me, I guess. But I do try to keep the ads to a minimum. Okay, so here we are. Here's the laptop. Let's grab my decibel meter checker. We'll scoot the laptop back a little bit. I think I just knocked the power brick off the table. I did. All right. Beautiful. All right, there we go. Okay. And now we're going to go ahead and get this camera positioned correctly. Man, this display does give me a really good first impression. I have not done a test on it yet, but it does look really good. Okay. I suppose we should go over the audio program real quick. Inside of the Acer NitroSense, you've got advanced settings. And inside of here, you have different audio profiles: shooter, RPG, strategy, music, movies, voice, automatic, custom. We're going to do music for our audio profile. There is also THX, but the THX has the exact same settings inside of there. So, all right, so here's Peter Spacey Roar. Let me restart this, and let me make sure our audio is up 100%. It was not. Okay. All right. And let's also get our baseline decibels right now in the room. So right around 42 decibels, just a hair under 42 decibels. Let's go ahead and do Peter Spacey Roar. Here we go. Yeah. Not very good bass. Everything's pretty muddled. Mids, highs, it's all pretty muddled. Let's move on to Faded A on Half-Life. Maybe this will be a little better. Not much better on this. That is okay-ish. La la la, love you like. Yeah, so the way I would describe the speakers are almost no bass, very minimal bass. You get a little bit of bass, but there's not real much, there's almost no thump to it. And then the mids, especially in Peter Spacey Roar, it's very like kind of all over the place. Like the whole, like the mids, lows, and highs are all being engaged at once. Everything sounds pretty muddled when everything's going on at once. La La Love You Like, though, when it was just the mids, just the vocals going, like, it sounded pretty good. It didn't sound bad. Now, the total volume also was not particularly high. We did not get, like a lot of laptops get up to like 88 or 87 on the decibel meter. I saw 83 around the highest. So the total volume is not that good. The bass are not that good. Overall, speakers are probably like a 6. Like this is baseline level speaker system in this system. It's not the worst I've ever seen in a laptop. I have seen worse, but this is probably the close to or tied for the worst so far in 2023 that I've used. Basically tying the Lenovo IdeaPad and some of the other Acer Nitro 5 that I had tested in the past. Not particularly great audio. Yeah, I would say poor overall speaker system. One of the areas in which they saved money quite clearly, so they can deliver this product to you at a cheaper price. So let's move on to our fan noise testing. What's up, John Wick? I see you just got a new X16. I'm assuming that's the Alienware X16. Congratulations. That's awesome. How are you enjoying it? Gutsy says, when will the Helios 16 be available? I believe it is already available. I believe. I think. There are, I believe, at least certain models available for ordering. Check the laptop sheet for all of the different potential options, right? Okay, so we are going to be trying out our 4 different profiles today. So we've got quiet, balanced, performance, and turbo. We're going to test out those 4 profiles, and then in addition, we're going to do max fan mode as well. So we're going to do max fan. We're going to start with the loudest and see how quiet we get, all right? We also have not done our display testing yet. Should we do that next? We'll do display testing after this. It's not bad temp sitting for GPU 65 to 75, but CPU is always hitting 99 degrees because Alienware always letting the temp loose on the CPU. I love the X16 speakers on par with the MacBook, I would say. Alienware speakers are usually pretty good. So that's always a good thing. Having nicer speakers. One of the advantages for sure. All right, let me make sure the Afterburner's been set up. Looks like it has been. All right, so we're going to be running Time Spy in a window, in a loop. I don't think I set it up as a loop. Oops. Okay. Let me go ahead and make sure this is set up to be running in a loop, because we're going to use this as our stress test to verify our fan noise. If you haven't seen this before, we're going to do windowed mode, looping enabled, and we're going to run a custom run on graphics test 2. This is going to let us put the system under load and really examine the temperatures under each of the fan profiles. Yusef says, will you be undervolting this one? Actually, can you undervolt Acer laptops? So I believe you probably could undervolt this one using UXTU. And most likely you'd be able to also undervolt the GPU as well. But today we're not going to be doing that. Today we're focusing just on performance numbers. I'm going to go ahead and raise the size of the text to be a little bigger. All right, so we are on maximum fan RTX 4070. Keep in mind, I have not overclocked the system at all. We are just in turbo mode. That's it. And despite that, looks like Acer actually overclocks the system by default. Let's see if I can show you this. So Acer overclocks the system by 100 on the core clock out of the box. So that's what we'll be testing with today. Now, the Blade 14 that I reviewed just last week, as well as yesterday doing performance testing and optimization, we were doing 2265 for our GPU boost clock out the box. So this is already running higher than the Blade 14 in terms of boost clock capabilities. You know, I do want to get our voltage up on the display. Let me pull HW info up. And let's get our voltage put up so we can see that number for our GPU. Interesting. So it is 0.925, so 925 millivolts. That's the same voltage that I was running in the Blade 14. It's just, we basically have got 135 overclock, core clock overclock compared to the Blade 14. Now, we have been running the system now for, what, 3 runs in a row now? 65, 63, 64, 63, 65. So we're going to call it 64 degrees. 65 degrees on the GPU. That's excellent. Our CPU, also excellent at 66 degrees. Very nice. 30 watts of power through that CPU. It's enough to give us decent gaming performance. Yeah. Looking excellent all around during max fans. Like, this is without a laptop cooler. No laptop cooler, just straight max fans in the laptop itself. We are raised up on the back, though, a ½ inch. CPU climbing up to 70 degrees, because we are pulling a little bit more wattage there for a moment. 41 watts on that CPU. Interesting. Overall, keeping the temps below 70 pretty much on that CPU, kind of touching the 70 mark. Let's find out how loud this system is now, all right? So let's be quiet now. It keeps peaking at 64 decibels, so that's what we're going to call it. Those are extremely loud fans. Much louder max fans than you typically have on a gaming laptop for maximum fans. All right, so let's go ahead and turn off max fans. We'll go to auto fans now. We are now in auto fan mode. And we're in turbo fans, but auto fans, okay? I don't know that it's going to be any quieter. I think turbo mode might be programmed to just go straight max fans. So we're seeing right around the same temperatures. The GPU climbed a little bit in temps. Could also just be heat saturation occurring. All right, overall, very good. Turbo is acting pretty much the same. Let's see if it's any quieter. I don't think it is. Sounds the same to me. Interesting. It goes down to 60 and then it jumps to 64 occasionally. I don't know why. Super interesting. I don't really get it, but whatever. I'm assuming it's 60. Yeah, I'm assuming 60 decibels. I'm switching back to max fan mode. So maximum fans is just a little bit higher RPMs, another 150, 200 RPMs higher. Yeah, so max fans is just a little bit louder. Let's go to auto fans, and we're gonna go down to performance mode, okay? So we're dropping our fan profile down to performance mode. Whoa, I can hear the fans getting much quieter now. Let's see here. So what do we got going on now? Our GPU voltage is the same. Our GPU clock went down to 2355, which is 45 less. Our temps have risen a little bit, but wow, those fans are much quieter now. Like the fans, I can kind of hear them going up and down a little bit. You know, our heat is starting to climb. As our heat climbs, it may cause the fans to ramp up more. So we got to wait until, we got to give it at least a couple minutes here to try to equalize, find the right equilibrium for these performance fans. 110 watts right now. Very standard stuff for the RTX 4070 for a full powered 4070. I think this is looking good. I mean, this is all pretty normal stuff. I gotta say our temps are very controlled considering the fan noise being quite moderate right now. Oh, the fans are coming a little louder. Oh, and they died again. So kind of coming up and coming down. Let's go ahead and listen to the fans with the fan decibel meter. So what we've got going on right now is like a pulsating fan going from 49 something decibels up to 54 decibels. As the temperature in the application here, as the temperature spikes on the laptop, we're getting our fans, like if the temperature goes above 75, it looks like we have a fan noise increase, which is pretty annoying. I would not want to run the laptop like this. This would be, unless you had headphones. If you had headphones, this is fine. But like any fan noise that I hear, I want it to be a consistent sound. I don't want it to be going, you know, that's not good. So that would be my feedback right here. They need to get it so that it doesn't ramp as aggressively for sure. All right, so we're gonna go to balanced mode now. Balanced mode. Whoa. Look at our voltage. Our GPU voltage dropped to 0.875. Our core clocks also dropped to 2100, 2235, 2280. So this is certainly being power limited a little bit more to help reduce our temps. And I think the fan noise is quieter now as well. Look at our CPU wattage. Only 12 watts right here. Wow. Super low CPU wattage in balanced mode. Of course, because we're using such low CPU wattage, that is going to impact our CPU gaming performance if you're CPU bound in whatever game you're playing. 66 degrees is very good on the temps here in balanced mode. 73 on the GPU, also very good. And I gotta say, the system is extremely quiet and it has not gotten any loud. It has not gotten loud at all. Let's go ahead and see how loud the system is. Balanced mode. .7 decibels. That is excellent. Very, very good. If you're acoustically sensitive, this is the mode you'll want to use to play your games. Though you could also use like your own custom fan profile. Like if you wanted to go to your fan control and do custom, you could set it to be lower, quieter fans and undervolt it. That would probably be the best way to have a quiet system. Let's try quiet mode and see how quiet it is and what kind of performance we get. We're now in quiet mode. Wow, the fans are completely silent now. Okay, so we're doing 85 watts of power, 0.91 volts, 0.89 volts. So still a good amount of voltage going to that GPU. 2100 on the core clock for the GPU, 74 degrees so far. Let's give it a little more time to adjust its temps. But yeah, this is extremely quiet. Extremely quiet. Basically cannot hear it almost. Like just a very, you can barely hear any fans whirring at all. And our temps are still very good. 74 degrees, 69 degrees. So if you're after playing with extremely quiet fans, then this is going to be the profile for you. I mean, you're still going to be able to play you're still going to be able to play most modern games. No problem with even the quiet profile at 85 watts of power. So that's great. Very interesting. It's not like previous gens where you had to run performance mode to enable full GPU wattage. Well, you do in this scenario because we are losing some wattage and we're going to lose some performance. You know, we were doing 2400 on the core clock. So you get like 20% more performance in full turbo mode, basically. Well, maybe even less, maybe 10 to 15, 20%, at least from a GPU perspective. The CPU perspective is bigger difference than that. Because we're doing 40 watts in turbo mode. So overall, though, quiet mode is very excellent. Let's go ahead and see the decibels on quiet mode. Just a hair above 42 decibels for quiet mode. That is excellent. I love it. So overall, yeah, I mean, you're going to get great gaming performance with this laptop in all the different profiles. But obviously, if you're going to try to play any CPU-bound games like Warzone 2 or any esports titles that require a good amount of CPU power, or AAA titles that require a lot of CPU power like Dead Space, you're going to want to run it in a more aggressive fan profile, probably at least performance or turbo mode, if you want the full FPS experience, because it's probably going to be pretty dramatically different FPS in those CPU-bound games. Okay. You'll probably still get playable frame rates, even in quiet mode, but it just, any competitive type game, usually those are the games you'd want to use your high performance modes anyway in. Okay, so let's move on to our display testing. All right, so display testing is next. Let's see if this QHD screen stands up to the test, okay? So here is everything we're doing today. We're on display test. We just did speaker test and fan noise. We're going back up to the display right there. And then we're gonna move on to all of our performance testing. So I just need to put my code in here real quick and we'll be good to go. Can anyone tell me what the code was that I just mouthed? Anyone good at lip reading? Don't memorize the code. All right. Great. Great White Shark, I think is what your name is. Just read the Ryzen 9 7945HX 3D. It's going into the ROG Scar 17 next month. You're going to review that laptop next month. I would love to. I don't know if I'll be able to or not, but we'll see. That is definitely a laptop I would love to review. I really wanted to do the Scar 17 already this year. I did order one, but it ended up getting canceled. My order ended up getting canceled. So I would love to review one. Maybe I can get Asus to send me one. Fingers crossed. Because that obviously would be theoretically, potentially, likely, the best esports gaming CPU that money can buy, right? So, all right. It might be, depending on the game. All right, so we're going to go ahead and just put the Spider 5 Elite on there. We are at 100% display brightness, and the display brightness adjustment is working correctly, so we're going to go ahead and launch our test. You're holding off on buying your laptop for now? It makes sense if you're gonna go for an ultra high-end gaming laptop. I think it would make sense to kind of hold off. If you're going for more of a mid-range buy, obviously the Scar 17 is going to cost a lot more than this laptop. So I think people who are looking at this laptop don't really need to be worried about that one competing with this one. But if your goal is to get the best, the very best laptop possible, then yeah, it'd probably be worth considering waiting to hear how well it tests. Gizmo, is it possible to get a laptop RAM CL lower than 40 CL? Joker, I'll be honest with you. I have not done detailed timing testing with different RAM sticks. But that is one of the things that I'm going to be testing with the XMG Neo 17. At least a little bit here. We're going to try to actually overclock the RAM in the Neo 17. But yeah, honestly, there's just not a huge market for RAM testing or RAM upgrades in laptops because it's more of a super enthusiast thing to be worried about. And so there usually is a couple upgrades that you can get for RAM sticks, like over your whatever base RAM your laptop came with. But oftentimes, yeah, it's not like desktops where there's just like dozens of different RAM modules you can choose from. There might be like 2 or 3 different options for laptops. Just because there's not as many users interested in upgrading their RAM to get more performance. There usually is some, so there is a small market for it, but yeah, it's just not as many people in the market for buying those things, so manufacturers just don't put out as many options. They'll usually, 2 or 3 different upgrade options for high-end, high-performance RAM for laptops. So you just got to look at what's out there. I would recommend checking probably Newegg. Probably is the best place when you're shopping for your RAM. Okay. All right. Here we go. Let's see what we get on the display. Keep in mind, right, that this laptop display checker underestimates the display quality by, about 7-ish%, 7-8%, whatever. So as long as we're within 7-8% of 100% sRGB, they will have held up to the claims. Now, originally this laptop claim is 500 nits brightness, 100% sRGB. We're doing 94% sRGB, so that is within the range of 100% sRGB of their claim, because like I said, this thing underestimates by about 7%. So Adobe is at 71, P3 is at 72. So basically right around like 78, 79 for Adobe and P3. Let's check out our brightness. Brightness, 477 nits bright at 970 to 1. So not quite 500 nits. 477, though, is pretty dang bright, for sure. So that's excellent overall. Let me go ahead and see if I can get this thing to go closer, because it is a little bit small. So 477 for the highest, 18 nits brightness for the low end. That's not really that dark, honestly. And then for our color gamut, 94%, 71, and 72. So very nice overall. I think this is obviously not like your high-end graphics editor type of display, but it's excellent for gamers out there that are looking for a bright display for use in day-to-day life. Like when you're hitting as high of color brightness as this, like you're gonna be very happy with your gaming experience. Hey, look, there's our live stream right there. There's 57 of us right now watching. Very nice. So this is the OLED display test 4K video. I like showing this to show you the color gamut. It's very bright, very vibrant, and it's a 16:10 aspect ratio, so 2560 by 1600 resolution. We have excellent details on this display. Like, it is not quite as vibrant as what we get on like the Blade 18, but I gotta say that overall, like, this is going to make the vast majority of gamers very happy, especially at the $1,349 price point. You rarely will ever see a laptop display get this bright under $1,500. Like, that's pretty uncommon unless you're getting like a used display. So yeah, that's really great to see overall. Let's go ahead and do our Blacklight bleed test. Backlight bleed test. Okay, we've got to turn off Afterburner for a moment. Or in this case, it's Riva Statistic Tuner. Okay, now I got to turn off these lights back here. And we'll turn off all of these lights. There we go. Okay, so yeah, we got some backlight bleed on this unit, that's for sure. My eyes visually, I'm seeing backlight bleed here, here, and here. This stuff down here is just from my RGB behind me. But visually, I am definitely noticing some backlight bleed up here, here, and here mainly. So like from my eyesight can see it. Now, backlight bleed, if you don't know what it is primarily when you're at 100% brightness and you're looking at a really dark image, how black does it get for the whole uniform display? Does it get, do you see like brighter areas? Like this will affect you in dark games or dark movies. But backlight bleed will also vary dramatically from laptop to laptop. Each display is cut differently and will have different backlight bleed to it. Okay, so we're ready to move into our Cinebench R23 testing. So we'll see how powerful the CPU is. We're going to move into max fan mode. Watcha. All right, and we're going to set CPU priority to above normal on Cinebench R23, as we always do. All right, and we got HW info right here. We can go ahead and get this started now, but we're going to do just a regular run. So we want our core clocks and then our CPU. So keep in mind, this is basically a Ryzen 7000 series CPU. And yeah, we're already hitting 95 degrees Celsius. We've seen 95 degrees Celsius be our thermal throttle point pretty much with all the different Ryzen chips out there doing, let's see here, where's our power, package power? Package power right here, 95 watts. Interesting. So very high amount of package power being pulled through the system. I like to see that, but at the same time, our temps are very hot at 98 degrees right now. Basically thermal throttling, doing 4.3 gigahertz across all those cores. 14,000 for our Cinebench R23 score is still pretty good. You know, in the Blade 14, that has the new Ryzen 9 7940HS, the 7940HS being the new 7000 series CPU. Sorry, I meant to say this one is a 6000 series CPU rebranded as the 7000 series, being the 7735HS. That's what the 30 moniker means. So, all right. Okay, so let's see what we get for our second run. 4.3 gigahertz on all the cores. This is an 8-core, 16-thread CPU. So that's doing a good amount of performance here. You know, the new CPU that we tested in the Blade 14, 14,154. You know, the new CPU we did, the Ryzen 9 7940HS, that thing did basically 18,000 when it was undervolted, 17,000 when it was not undervolted. So that gives you an idea of how much of a performance gap you have between this gen and last gen. We were also being able to do around 4.8 gigahertz without an undervolt and over 5 gigahertz with the undervolt across all 8 cores and 16 threads. Still doing 95 watts of package power here. Temps very spicy. So overall, I think what we got going on in this system is going to be a good amount of power for the vast majority of users out there. If you need to do some video editing, you want to do some whatever you want to do, it's pretty much going to be able to handle it. 14,177. Let's go ahead and do our 10-minute test. And we're going to do some evaluation now. We're going to reset. I just reset all of our averages here, so we'll see how hot the CPU gets, what the temperatures are, what the core clocks average, and what our package power average is. The one thing I will say that's really good in this laptop for sure is our package delivery at 96, 95 watts is excellent. This CPU, you know, a lot of these CPUs only do 80 watts in the thinner laptops, so we're getting 15 additional watts on this laptop compared to, say, the Zephyrus G14. So that's good. And I don't think that the additional wattage from 80 to 95 is really going to give us much performance boost, but maybe a little bit. And if you were to use UXTU to undervolt this system, you might be able to eke out another 200 megahertz maybe on the core clocks here to improve our Cinebench score. I don't know, 500, 600 points maybe, somewhere in that range would be my guess. We're going to go ahead and let this run, and we're going to talk about CPU performance laptops around this price point and interact with chat for a couple minutes while this is running. Okay. This processor is Zen 3 Plus, not Zen 4, correct? On Asus, 7840 or 7940 is Zen 4. That is correct. The third number in the Ryzen naming scheme means what generation it is. And Zen 3 is the Zen 3 or whatever is the technical name, but it's also the same processor lineup name that was used in the 6000 series CPUs from Ryzen. So, okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at. Oh, look at this! Oh my, world's fastest mobile gaming processor, the ultimate gaming laptop, the Ryzen 9 7945HX 3D in the SCAR 17 X 3D. That is really cool. I don't know if it's actually going to be faster than the i9 processor in every game, but I bet a lot of them it will. Boosts up to 5.4 gigahertz in this Ryzen 9. So this is going to be the highest end gaming CPU that you could theoretically buy from AMD at least. Need to see it actually line up head to head with the i9 chip and see if it can beat it. But anyway, let's talk CPU performance for the money around this price point. So we're going to filter this. We're going to do $1,500. All right. And so it'll be all of the laptops that are $1,500 or less. Okay. And then we're going to do Cinebench R23 score. So $1,500 or less. Where are we at? Oh, wow. So you can get the Strix G16 with the i9 13980HX for $1499. That comes with the high-end display as well. Whew. So, I mean, wow. If you're after just CPU performance, this is probably the laptop to get for the money. Now it's actually gone up in price, $1,584.99 now. It's not $14.99 anymore, so we'll have to adjust the price. But that's impressive. That is very impressive CPU performance. Let's see our next one. The Strix G17, Ryzen 9 7845. I don't think this one, I think this is an incorrect Cinebench number. The Omen 17 with the i7 13700HX. Very good CPU in the Omen 17. Wow, it's so cheap with a 4060. 1249. 21,500 approximately with this CPU. I did do a review of the Omen 17 with this exact same processor. So if you're after CPU performance per dollar, that is really good CPU performance per dollar for only $12.49. The Legion Pro 5i, also same CPU, i7 13700HX. And you got some coupon codes to use here if you do decide to go with this one. The Extra 5 and Buy More Lenovo, $11.48. So even cheaper than the Omen 17. Omen 16 with the i7 13700HX. Another Omen 16. HP Victus with the i7 13700HX. Strix G16 with the i7 13650HX. So there's a lot of interesting options here. But for sure, if you can get this i9 13980HX, that's going to be the most CPU performance. So if you're after CPU performance per dollar, this is your guy probably, because this is the cheapest i9 13980HX I have ever seen. That is just phenomenal value from a CPU perspective. And it's enough gaming, a 4050 is enough gaming to do QHD gaming as long as you're willing to turn quite a few settings down to low and medium in the more demanding titles. Obviously, that's also a very good display as well for that laptop. Is it really a QHD 240 Hz? Yes, it is. Featuring QHD 240 Hz Nebula display. Wow. Phew. That's impressive. I am very impressed with that value. The Lenovo Legion, this is the next best one. This is the runner-up for CPU performance for your money. The Legion Pro 5i with the i7 13700HX, followed by the Omen 17 with a 4060. You got a better GPU with this one. Nice all-around system for this system, for sure. Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and check on our CPU test with the Acer Nitro 16 now. The Ryzen 7 7735HS. And let me also bring up chat again. Haha says, I've never seen the HS eat 90 watts. Yeah, that's it. Isn't that interesting? Right now we are averaging, let's see what we're averaging for our core package power. 94.3 watts, which basically means that whenever it's under load, it's doing 95 watts. Very impressive. Very impressive overall power pull and throughput. But I don't think our clock speed's really that much higher than what I would expect 80 watts to give us. 4.3 gigahertz, you know, is still very good. It's been very consistently 4.35 gigahertz, basically 4.34. 98 degrees on the CPU, averaging 98 degrees. So obviously, if we wanted to tame our temps, the biggest thing would be dropping that CPU wattage down to say 80, maybe, and giving us like 90, 95% of the performance, but dropping our temps down. Obviously, you could go down as low as 60 or 70 and still see very good temps all around. Yusef says, I read the Lenovo is going to make a Legion 9 Pro with the i9 13980HX with 4090 and a mini LED. I heard that as well, and I hope I can review that one. MSI Vector 4080 plus i7 13700HX with external monitor would be a good laptop for a while. Yeah, that would also be an excellent laptop. The standard SCAR 17 already has the 7945HX. That's correct. The new CPU that was just launched is the 7945HX 3D, which if you don't understand what the 3D means, it basically means the CPU has a bigger cache, which means it's able to handle more interactions within the CPU at once without having to shift data in and out of the CPU, which can cause increased latency, which can hurt your frame rate in CPU-bound games. So in certain CPU-bound games, it's basically able to juggle more instructions at once to be able to process and keep a steady low 1% lows and higher FPS when you're being CPU bottlenecked. In theory, at least. Certain games obviously aren't going to need the full larger cache of the CPU, and then it won't make any difference if it's just being limited by other things. But yeah, 144 megabyte cache is a lot. I think it's the most we've seen in any laptop CPU. So yeah. Tony says, in my browser, your list only shows about 15 laptops. It stops around the $1,000 deals. Have you filtered the list? We're about to finish up here. Averaging 95 watts, 98 degrees Celsius, 4.34 gigahertz on the CPU clock, 14,155, just what I was expecting. Excellent. Good CPU performance all around. Let's go ahead and do Time Spy now. Yeah, so Tony, the way it works is if you're on my list and you filter something, it's going to only show you the things, and you can click the clear filters over here on the left, and that should show you everything on the list. All right, and then let me just go back to, I can refresh this. Yeah, it's showing everything on here. I don't know. I think if you're using Android phones, it's not going to work very well, but almost everything else should be working really well with that list. All right, so here we are. It's time for Time Spy. It's the time of the Time Spy. Okay. Looks like I'm a little off center, kilter. There we go. Beautiful. So Time Spy being a synthetic test to see what the raw GPU rendering performance of the laptop is. And then we'll move into our other testing. Can you do a review on the RTX 4080 versus 4070 on the Legion, Nitro, and Asus? Oh, and can you compare cooling? So I'm not sure exactly what you're asking for there, Kareem, but the best I can do for you is basically showing you these kinds of numbers and giving you a rough idea of the overall performance you can expect. So we're in turbo mode with max fans enabled, starting off at 55 degrees Celsius on the GPU, 58 degrees on the CPU, 97 watts, 2415 on the GPU boost clock, so even a little higher than what we were doing before. 4.6 gigahertz on that CPU. 925 millivolts is the node we're on for the GPU, which I believe is going to be our standard node for almost all the RTX 4070s for a full-powered RTX 4070. Mayank Baragi says, test Unreal Engine 5 tech demo. That's an interesting idea. I'll have to look into it. Obviously, I can't do it this live stream. but that's an interesting idea. I'll consider adding it to my test. My tests. I do have a game that is built in Unreal 5 that I could test. I have tested it on one of the other laptops. It's called Illuvium, which is one of the games I'm most excited for this year. Luis says, you're going through these laptops like hotcakes. That's the goal. That's the goal. Trying to make as many laptop reviews as I can this year. Give you guys all the coverage you need to be able to make the decisions you need to make the best choice. That's the goal. Be as helpful as possible. The Lenovo 9-13980HX will give Razer 18 a tough competition because of the price tag. How much do you think the Lenovo 9 is going to be? I'll bet you it's going to undercut the Blade 18. But really, the Lenovo 9, if it's a 16-inch device, it's really mainly competing with the Blade 16, I would say, because it's not as big of a device screen. Yusef says, for some reason your website is blocked in Iraq. Oh no, I can't control that, unfortunately. You could petition the government, be like, hey, this is just a review website. It's okay. You can show this website. 4.45 gigahertz, 65, 75 watts of power, 80 watts of power now in the CPU test. Pretty good amount of throughput there. Tony, you might try clearing your cookies and maybe viewing the website in another browser as well. Okay, out of the box, 12,383. Very nice. Very good stock score. 10,202 for our CPU score. Very nice. The Blade 18 or the Blade 14 with a 4070 was hitting slightly lower clocks out of the box, did 11,800. With an overclock, that thing hit 12,800. So I wonder if we were to overclock this, if we were able to break the 13,000 mark. Maybe. Would not be surprised if we could bust the 13,000 mark with a strong overclock. But that's not going to be in this live stream. That would be in another live stream. Okay, so there's your Time Spy score. Let's move into our game testing. Let me just make sure we've covered everything on the list. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, time to move on to Apex Legends and move into some actual gameplay testing and see how the laptop handles. All right. Yeah, if the website's being blocked in Iraq, you could use a VPN potentially to access it. I don't know if that's legal or any of the legal ramifications of that, but I'm sure some people do that in Iraq when they want to view content. Is the 12500H in combination with the 4060 weak? It's probably going to negatively, Tony, it's probably going to negatively affect your FPS only in certain titles, like Warzone 2 or CPU-bound games that are like esports titles, or maybe CPU-bound AAA titles like Dead Space. But in general, that i5 12500H will not be a CPU. It won't really make you CPU bound in like the vast majority of games. You'll be just fine in the vast majority of games. So, especially if you were to use it in a QHD screen, then it would be completely fine almost all the time. Okay, so we're gonna use high settings, the default high settings to start with. We'll go into the firing range. This display is looking good, by the way. This display looks really good to my eyes actually using the display. We're gonna go ahead and reposition so I can control the laptop a bit better. Okay, and we also got to change a couple of keybinds. Okay, so right out the gate, 150 FPS here in QHD. Very good performance. And so far, our 1% lows has also been excellent. I mean, this is very good performance for high settings. Let's go ahead and set everything to low. And we should be able to get closer to 300 FPS, I think. No. Looks like not 300. Okay, so 200. Wow, when I did that zoom in, we had a little bit of a 1% low stutter. So we're doing 210 FPS, 120 for our 1% low. Very good. Every time I zoom in, we have a little bit of a stutter there, which is not good. Okay, it's better now. This display is quite responsive. It feels very good. I think there's very minimal ghosting on it. I think people are going to be able to aim really well on this display. I think it's not the most fluid display I've used. I've used better displays, but for a budget system, this has got a slight, I would say, slight ghosting to the image. Very minimal though. And overall, I think any esports enthusiast is going to like this display because of how detailed it is. You know, it's 165 hertz is obviously not as fast as 240 as well, so that's kind of a disadvantage. If you're a super esports enthusiast and you want to be able to get to that 240 range, you'll have to go with a different laptop. And if you're an esports enthusiast, I would generally recommend going with a full HD display anyway. So you could go with like a full HD 240 hertz or 360 hertz display, or maybe even a 480 hertz display if you're an esports junkie, but that felt good. No problems, in my opinion, using this display for aiming or high speed action sports type gameplay. I would just say that it's not the perfectly optimal esports display, but good enough. Good enough for most esports players, no problem. Okay. How good is the i7-13700HX for big game titles? Oh, it's great. I don't think you're going to have any problems with that CPU. It's going to put out pretty much excellent overall FPS in every single game that you play it with. So it's a great gaming CPU, that i7-13700HX. I think you'll get slightly more performance with the i9-13900HX in games that can use all the cores. Or use, I think it's a slightly higher clock speed too, especially for the 13980HX. It's going to be slightly higher clock speeds as well. So, but yeah. So overall, so far in Apex Legends, you know, if we're hitting more than 165 average FPS, that's good. Our 1% lows, we ideally want to keep, you know, higher than 100 at least. But if it occasionally stutters here and there, it's not the end of the world. But yeah, ideally, we definitely, if it happens a lot, then that's a problem. But if it happens only every now and then, and the vast majority of the time you're playing, it's perfectly smooth, it's good. You can see visually this little line right here to get an indication. This is the frame time graph. Anytime there's a big spike in the line, it means that there was a stutter, like a noticeable stutter. Now, to be able to play this game a little better, I'm going to go ahead and make the size of the text a little smaller, so I can actually aim down the crosshair without it being in the way. So, yeah. All right, if you're just hopping into the stream, we're going to be doing all of these things. The games we're testing: Apex Legends, then Warzone 2, Doom Eternal, God of War, Cyberpunk 2077, Hogwarts, Dead Space, Last of Us, Witcher 3, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Dying Light 2, and Dead Space. So, lots of great games coming up. We'll see how this laptop performs in each of them. Ooh, yes, it just switched to Gun Run. That makes me happy. I like Gun Run. Gun Run's fun. That is my favorite. It's my favorite mode, obviously, besides the main Battle Royale. Do 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 do. Chat. What are your favorite games? Let me know in the chat below. So it's tried connecting to like 5 different matches now. Okay, we're going to start and we are going to stop it. Yusef says, I think I spent more time watching your channel than I did in college this year. I don't know more about laptops. I know more about laptops you reviewed than pharmacy courses, LOL. Now that's real support. That's funny, man. Well, I appreciate it. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I am tempted to add that one, but to add a game into my benchmark suite, I have to remove a game. So that's the tricky part. And I've not seen if Ratchet and Clank will actually be popular enough. If it's popular enough, I will consider adding it. The other game I'm contemplating adding is Doom 4. I feel like that might be also a game that has a popular enough fan base to actually be warrant doing tests with, or at least doing some tests with it, at least. But actually kind of tempted to do, like, for some games, being like 5 different laptops with a 4050, 4060, 4070, 4080, 4090, and see the different performance levels of each one. Okay, so here we are. Let's see what our FPS is. 201 so far right out the gate. Got one. Woo! We'll go ahead and heal up here. Hard to hear. I'm gonna go and turn the sound on. I am hearing a little spatial audio on the left and right sides.
Recharging my shield. Target spotted.
Very nice. Oh, he got me with the slowdown. Ooh, leading the server in damage right now. Let's go. Oh, I'm not in focus anymore. Well, we died very quickly now that I brought us into focus.
That would be a fun twist.
Give me a second. Recharging shields.
Giving my shields a recharge.
Oscar Mike, I'm spotted.
Spot bullet away.
With this little... Oh my gosh. I had to work hard to kill that person.
Spot bullet away. Our foes felt the sting of my smart bullet.
Two on one, 3 on 1 really. Okay, how's my team doing? Oh, my team is in 3rd place. We're not doing so good. My teammates aren't really killing anything.
They're halfway to the win. Dig in. Time we earn our stripes.
We keep fighting that team in those buildings.
It's like bamboozled, but with a plan.
Testing wise, try No Man's Sky. Maybe that might be an interesting game. I mean, I've played the game a lot. It was very poorly optimized when I played it last time. Ooh. Got us again. We managed to kill one of them though. That team does a good job of staying together, unlike my team.
Recharging shields.
Killed her again, yes.
Maybe set, but we can change. Giving my shields a recharge. Idiot with a firearm.
Wow, so many enemies right there. Okay, so right now we're doing 176 FPS, 81 for our 1% low. I wish our 1% low was better. So that's it for the game. We just lost. Very nice. Overall, fun. I can clearly play the game really well, even at this QHD resolution. It's just, I do wish our 1% lows were higher. Obviously, you could go down to 1080p if you wanted. And you would probably see better 1% lows. Okay. Checking chat. Doom 4 has a 200 FPS cap. Interesting. Can you not raise the cap manually? Cyberpunk 2077 is great. I definitely cannot wait to see the Phantom Liberty DLC. Oh, okay, yeah, it's like the new DLC that's coming out. I wonder if it's going to how good it is. Rice Cage wants to see Valorant again. Just so we know, performance in low effort games with no frame cap. Interesting idea. What about FIFA or PES? What's PES? Engine limitation, 200 FPS. Well, I wonder if the laptops would cap it or not at 200. If it does, then it's probably not even worth adding to our testing. Okay, shaders are being optimized. 25% is going on right now. Here we are, our settings, 2560 by 1600. 165 hertz for our frame rate cap. We're gonna go to minimum. We're gonna go to performance. DLSS on quality. We want minimum, DLSS on quality. That's how we've been testing this game. Looks like shaders are already optimized all the way. Let's go ahead and get into a match. I gotta say that shader optimization happened really fast this time. I'd like to see that. I bet Starfield's gonna be great for testing. That is a game I do plan on adding for testing. I actually plan on playing that game a lot myself. I'm a sci-fi nut. I have played Elite Dangerous for hundreds of hours, StarCraft 2 for thousands of hours. I've beat Free Space, which is another spaceship game. I'm a huge fan of Star Citizen, and I have played the beta, whatever, pre-builds, whatever you want to call it. I just really want the full game to come out, and I really want Squadron 42, which is the single-player version of Star Citizen, to come out. Been waiting for that for a long time. So I spent hundreds of dollars on getting the spaceship Merchantman in Star Citizen. Then I ended up selling that one and getting the Constellation, Aquila, and the Fighter 7C or something like that. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like the official fighter. It's like the Ghost. It's like the stealth fighter. So yeah. Huge fan of sci-fi in general, and I've read hundreds of sci-fi books too. Played Mass Effect 1, 2, and I've played some of 3, but not all of it. Yeah, I'm a sci-fi and fantasy nerd. I'm into a lot of different things. But sci-fi is probably my favorite. So, okay, so looking at our initial FPS, we're doing 95 and 71 for our 1% lows. That's excellent. 52 watts of power going to that CPU, which is very good. Trying to find someone to shoot. It's very steady FPS. Things are looking very smooth. Things are looking very smooth, very playable. Keeping the FPS above 60 is very good. Have you seen the Space 1999 series? I have not. My favorite sci-fi is that I've ever played is what's that one? I can't believe I'm blanking on the name right now. Okay, I'll tell you after this. Okay, here we are. We're landed. We're on City Hall again. All right, 100 FPS. Someone's very close to us. $95 FPS. The sad part about City Hall is you cannot get any weapons here, so we have to go off City Hall to find some weapons. Come back. All right, we got ourselves a gun. Let's go see if we can do some murder. Hey, this door's open. I don't think this door is normally open. Probably a player in here. Where are you? There you are. Oh, they saw me through the window. Oh, that sucks. Oh, man. Okay. Well, 97 FPS, 68 for 1% lows. It's very good. Very good FPS in Warzone. Very playable. I will say that it's a little bit for an RT. Whoa, we're back. What? We're back in the fight. We didn't have to fight anyone? What the heck? The game decided to give us a second chance without having to fight anyone in the gulag. Well, we're gonna need a third chance. Come on. Oh my goodness. We actually almost got him, I think. Well, we did a lot of shots on him. He did a good job laying down. Okay, so 96 FPS, 63 for a 1% low. Obviously, it's very good. It's obviously very good in Warzone 2. Very playable. So that's nice to see. All right, let's move on. It's time to run Cyberpunk. Well, let's see here. So our game testing list says it's Doom Eternal time. Doom Eternal is next. So let's do that. Laptops can reach 200 FPS in Doom 4 easily, even on highest settings, aside from maybe a 4050. Interesting, okay. Well, that's good to know. So not really any point in testing Doom 4 then, or buying it. Pro Evolution Soccer or eFootball. Oh, okay. So Clark, you asked me what Space 1999 is, and I don't know what it is. So are you going to tell me what it is? I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you to tell me. Okay, we gotta change our settings. There we go. All right, so 2560 by 1600. We are going to do ray tracing on. DLSS on quality. Ultra Nightmare is a setting we're going to play on. Apply changes. All right, and wow, we're down to 40 FPS. Wow. Okay, well, we'll see what we get. New game. Sure, we'll do ultra violence. So right now we have ray tracing on, we have DLSS on quality. We're at QHD plus 2060 by 1600. And we're on Ultra Nightmare, which is the it's insane graphic settings. These graphics do look really good, but we're only getting 24 FPS right now. I don't think the laptop GPUs are made for this. I don't even know if a 4090 desktop GPU would be able to really play this at max. Whoa, look at our wattage. 33, 31. What's going on with our wattage utilization? It's almost like we're in battery mode. Let's see here. It shows that we're plugged in. Curson says VRAM, and yes, we are maxed on our VRAM, 7.7 gigs utilized. So yeah, I think the VRAM is maybe the limiting factor here, locking up both the CPU and the GPU. Let's see. Textures, let's just go to high textures maybe. Let's see what that does. Still no good. All right, we'll just do ultra settings like a loser. Okay, all right, so now we're hitting proper. I don't know what's going on with Ultra Nightmare. Ultra Nightmare is not working very well, obviously. 90 for our watts, 95 watts, 2400, 98, 100% GPU utilization, 4.5 gigahertz on the CPU, 44 watts is very good. All right, we're ready to use this. Let's kill some stuff. I have reset our FPS counter. Our 1% low, we are getting some stutters here and there. They're not too noticeable because they're not too strong of stutters, but how do I kill that guy? Wow, I already died. Oh my gosh. Get some life back there. Here, how do I use the it's C, I think. Yeah. That of course gives me some ammo. Let's see if I can kill this guy. We got him. Well, I don't know if we really got him. Oh my goodness. He's very hard to hit. Okay, well, there you go. 151 FPS, 39 for a 1% low. And Doom Eternal. It feels pretty good, even though our 1% low is 39. I'm not really feeling those lows hit me very hard. I can handle these little guys for days. I just can't handle the big guys. I have to like know the little tricks to beat them. Okay, all right. So I want to keep playing, but we got to keep moving on with our next benchmark. God of War. Let's go. Okay. Checking it. Checking chat. Let me put do not disturb on. So does this have thermal issues like the regular Nitro 5? So far, no real thermal issues, pretty much at all. It's been very, very good. I believe. Pretty sure our temps have always been at least below 90 on everything. Most of the time in the 60 to 70s, or 60s, high 60s, low 70s for the CPU and GPU. But right now we are pushing 80 degrees on that CPU. And CPU only things, it does get a bit spicier, all right, on temps. Now the thing about this is we are going to be in, you got to keep in mind our resolution, 2560 by 1600, DLSS on quality, graphics modes, ultra settings. Here we go. All right, so doing 99 watts, 96 watts to this GPU, 2400 on the GPU boost clock, 83 degrees on the CPU, 87 on the CPU now. But yeah, keeping the temps in a good range. The game's looking gorgeous, lots of detail with QHD resolution. 66 FPS, 26 for our 1% low. That's very good. Very playable. Obviously, if you want to get high FPS gaming, you can just go in here, change it to original graphics settings. And now we're in the 90 to 100 range. You know, 105, 97. So very good. Very playable. Game looks great. No problems in God of War. I love God of War testing because it's so quick. Hogwarts. Let's hop into Hogwarts Legacy. We'll see what kind of FPS we get in this title. In particular, I'm curious to see how CPU bound we are in Hogsmeade, which is the toughest area of Hogwarts to run. The Expanse. That's the name of the series. I love my favorite sci-fi series is called The Expanse. I don't know why I was blanking on it, but yeah, The Expanse is just, it's a hard sci-fi series, which means that the sci-fi rules, like laws of science, typically apply. And most sci-fi shows don't really respect the laws of science very much. There's a lot of sci-fi hooey going on in it. But for the most part, The Expanse follows a lot of very detailed sci-fi rules, which is just really fun. Adds more challenging, complex problems for the characters to solve, and I love that. And yeah, The Expanse is awesome. I love this. The show is on Amazon Prime. The books, though, I've read all the books. Have I read them twice yet? I think I read books 1 through 6 twice, and then books 7, 8, 9 only once. And I've read some of the short stories as well. But there's just really good characters, really good storyline, I think, and it's one of the most realistic and interesting sci-fi series out there. So check out The Expanse if you can. Okay, so windowed, full screen, DLSS, quality, frame generation is enabled. Ultra settings with low texture quality. Everything is set correctly. Let's move into the test. You collected the Expanse series as well. Good series, yeah. My biggest problem with the Expanse series is the way Alex died because of the main actor actually doing bad stuff. I guess he sexually assaulted some people. Bad stuff went down. So they had to just kill him. And it was like, wait, what? The character's not supposed to die right now. What the heck is this? And then they also ended the series early. Like it was supposed to be, you know, I was expecting it to go nine seasons, and they only went what was the basically covered only the first 6 books instead of going through all the way through the 8th, 9th, 7th, 8th, and 9th books. So that was probably the biggest disappointments for me. Okay, so we're at QHD resolution. It's harder to push FPS at QHD resolution, but we're still hitting in 70s range. 58 for a 1% low is actually really good right now. Now we're running into new areas. We're getting some frame time stutters right here. You can see those stutters happening. 66 FPS, 23 for our 1% lows. Generally, it's definitely still pretty playable, but getting just a little hitching here and there. Our VRAM usage is 6.7 gigs. We only have 8 gigs of VRAM on this GPU. Our low textures is helping us here not run into constant stuttering. That would be far worse. So let's go ahead and do this test at QHD resolution. And then I'll turn off ray tracing and we'll watch the FPS counter go up quite a bit. All right, so our temps are also very good right now. All right. So we are CPU bound. I want to point that out. 75% GPU utilization. CPU bound because there's so many NPCs in this area of the map. Overall, this is like the toughest area of Hogwarts to run. This and the school area. But overall, this is a great little area to test in Hogwarts if you want to see what your FPS is like. At least in the more demanding areas. 59 FPS, 26 for our 1% lows. Definitely playable at QHD resolution. But yeah, so if you're to tweak the settings a little bit, you just go in here, you flip these 3 settings off, apply. All right, let's see what we get now. No ray tracing, 104, 101. Much better, okay? So in the 90s to 100 range again. Just disabling ray tracing in the game still looks very good. Now the bigger question is, can we turn the textures up to medium? I don't think so. Let's try. It's probably going to require a restart of the game anyway. But it might actually, yeah, we are seeing more texture utilization here now. And medium textures in this game look way better than low as well. But yeah, I'm seeing some textures that were low popping up and changing into medium textures. We're also getting a lot of 1% lows as we're loading in all these textures again. I just reset our FPS counter. So yeah, this is probably the settings I would use playing this game. No ray tracing, QHD, DLSS and quality frame gen enabled, and then textures on medium with RTX 4070. All right, so there's Hogwarts for you. Very good, very playable overall gaming experience. Dead Space is next. Have you undervolted the CPU? No, we have not undervolted the CPU. These are all stock Max Fan Turbo enabled, right? So we are no undervolting on the CPU or GPU. But maybe we'll do another live stream where we undervolt the CPU and GPU. We'll see. We are building shaders now. Yusef says Acer may be the best in delivering best overall performance and specs for the price tag. Yeah, I think Acer is doing an excellent job of competing with other companies. I think Lenovo is also excellent in terms of just giving you a good FPS experience or good specs for the amount of money you're spending, I guess is the key. 2560 by 1600 resolution. We don't want AMD. We want DLSS quality. We want ultra settings. Continue. All right, so here we are. We have refreshed our FPS counter here now. 72, 73 FPS on average, 28 for our 1% lows. Again, this is usually a very CPU bound game, but in QHD resolution, it does usually become GPU bound by a little bit, but CPU wattage is still very heavy on the draw. Look at that, 62 watts of CPU. Our CPU temps, though, are not maxed. We have no laptop cooler. We have no undervolt enabled. These are good CPU temps. We'll see if they go up more. We had a nice big frame time stutter right here as we turned the camera. Interesting.
Where is everybody? Half the shit must have heard that back there. You proud, son. You gotta see her one thing. Johnson might disagree. But you're off in about the first round.
So 73 FPS, 24 for a 1% low. I wish our 1% low was a bit higher, but Dead Space, you can see our frame time graph. It almost always looks like this. It's got little frame time leggies, but in general, it still feels smooth to play the game, which is just, it's really interesting that it does that. It's the only game really that has that consistent frame time input lag, but the actual gameplay looks smooth. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and walk down the corridor. Here we go. 72 FPS, 31 for our 1% low so far. 88 degrees on that CPU, 61 watts of power, 92% GPU utilization, now 100%. 2400 for the boost clock on that GPU. Not quite using all the VRAM, but it's close. 6.8 gigs of VRAM utilization. 82, 87, 75 watts of usage on that GPU. So using that GPU quite a lot, but not as high a wattage because we've basically shifted the wattage over to the CPU. 77 FPS, 28 for our 1% low, very playable. Obviously, the best way to boost performance in this game is going to probably be just knocking DLSS down to like balanced mode, probably. And then maybe even going down to like medium settings or something, but very playable. Just going down to balanced mode, we boosted our FPS up to the 80-90 range, which is more the range that I would want to play a game like this in. So that's probably what I'd probably just keep it at these settings right here. Okay, so there's Dead Space for you. Let's move into our next game. Last of Us Part 1. LSP says, still waiting on your Legion Pro 7i tweaking video. I know, I'm sorry. Forgive me for the delays. But it is over there, sitting over there. I'm just trying to get through as many laptops as possible. Honestly, the tweaking videos, they can be shorter. And so if I just try to focus on doing some of the tweaking videos, I could probably do one a day. Whereas these long live streams, it's hard to do a 4-hour live stream day after day, you know, because these live streams usually take 4 hours. Okay, so we're going to do Ultra preset with textures on medium. All right, and we're going to go to our display quality. We're going to scale mode to DLSS on quality. You can see our resolution 2560 by 1600. Shaders are rebuilding, but we're not going to wait for them. It's fine. It just takes longer to load into the game, in my experience, but performance is still excellent. Waiting for the shaders can take like 45 minutes. So Even though I did build the shaders. That's the thing. I did build the shaders the other day, a couple days ago when I set this laptop up. But sometimes the shaders just need to be rebuilt. I don't know, when you update NVIDIA drivers or something. Okay, so we're about to hop into the game here now. All right, so I am refreshing the FPS counter right there. 88 FPS right now, 72, 73 for our 1% lows is very good. We got tiny little blips in the frame time graph. Otherwise, the game is running extremely smooth. $64 degrees on that GPU, 72 on that CPU. 2400 megahertz on the core clock for the GPU, hitting high boost clocks for that GPU. I love to see it. 6.2 gigs of VRAM utilization. We are not bumping into the cap because we have medium textures enabled. CPU at 70 degrees is also excellent. 39 watts of power going to that CPU in Last of Us here. So overall, very good performance in Last of Us. It's QHD, so I mean, it's definitely going to be playable with these settings on this laptop, no problem. Even at QHD, let's go ahead and try in Last of Us. I like doing this in Last of Us because they have good audio. Let's go down to balanced mode. All right, so balanced mode, we're going to see what kind of performance we get. And fan control, we're going to go to auto. All right, fan control auto. We'll go to balanced mode. All right, so it's going to be a lot quieter fans, and I'm going to turn the speakers up to max, and we'll see what the game audio sounds like and what kind of temps we get.
You wish.
Temps are great, 67 for both the CPU and GPU. 90 watts of power to that GPU. 2300 on the core clock. CPU temps, or CPU wattage came down to only 22 watts. The fans, as we tested in the fan noise test, extremely quiet in balanced mode. I can barely hear the fans at all.
Hello?
Sarah, honey, I need to get your daddy on the phone.
Uncle Tommy, what time is it?
I need to talk to your dad now. There's something.
Uncle Tommy? Hello?
The speakers sound pretty good right now. I think these kind of speakers benefit from this type of gameplay environment.
What was that all about?
Okay, so we are in the game now. Let's go ahead and walk around a little bit.
Dad?
It's going through the typical setting or typical areas that I check for this game. Wow, this sounds really good. Like, the gameplay experience is still very good.
You in here?
Seem to be somehow connected to the
Where
nationwide
the heck
pandemic.
are you?
We've received reports that victims afflicted with the infection show
That's
signs of
nearby.
increased aggression, and
Move everybody out of here now. There's a gas leak. Hey,
there seems to be some commotion coming from
get the hell out of here, bro!
What was that?
So the one thing I'll say is the FPS is very good. The fans are quiet, and the audio is very loud. I can clearly hear the game audio, absolutely no problem. So if you're in the mode, if you want to run this laptop in balanced mode for reduced fan noise and better audio quality, and to where you don't bother other people with fan noise or anything like that, this laptop can definitely do that, no problem. But for the rest of the tests, as usual, we're going to be bumping the fans up to max to just push the FPS as high as possible, and to see what kind of performance we get as well, and temps. So Dying Light 2 is our next game. And then Shadow of the Tomb Raider and Witcher 3. And then we're going to summarize everything we found out about this laptop so far today. RTX 4080, 4090 laptops can easily reach over 250 FPS, speedrun FPS due to some... I think you're talking about Doom Eternal. Yeah. Even at max settings on with ray tracing in Doom Eternal, is that with nightmare settings though, like the ultra nightmare? Yeah, we were running into weird power fluctuations when we were trying to run ultra nightmare for some reason. Probably the VRAM. Okay, high quality ray tracing, full screen enabled, 2560 by 1600, DLSS on quality, frame generation is enabled. So we are ready to go. Let's get into the benchmark now. Yes, Ultra Nightmare setting. Interesting. And I would have thought this 4070 would be able to do Ultra Nightmare. But I think it's probably just the VRAM not being enough is the reason. Probably then. Pretty interesting. Okay, here we are. Dying Light 2 QHD, all settings on with ray tracing enabled, frame gen on, 83 FPS at QHD, 6.6 gigs of VRAM utilized, so we're not running into VRAM stutters, don't have to turn down textures, at least yet. We're at 6.9. I would not be surprised if we did run into VRAM limitations because we're so close. 7.3 gigs now used. .78 FPS, 96 watts being utilized, 2400 megahertz again, 99% GPU utilization. So our CPU is not bottlenecking us pretty much at all right now in these games. I think the only ones that we were seeing where CPU bottlenecking was definitely happening was Warzone 2. I think that was the only one so far, at least at QHD resolution, where that would be happening. If you were doing 1080p gaming, I think you'd probably see it a lot more often. I guess Hogwarts would be another area where we were probably technically being CPU bottlenecked to some extent. Okay, what do we get? 83.7 FPS for our median FPS. That is slightly higher than the Blade 14 by like a couple FPS, so that's good. And our min FPS was 72. So no problems there. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is next. And then we've got The Witcher 3. All right, so we're exclusive full screen, DLSS on quality, refresh rate 165, graphics, highest settings, ray tracing on ultra. Let's go ahead and hop into the game. Okay, so display and graphics, 2560 by 1600, DLSS on quality, once again, ultra settings with ray tracing on ultra. Let's go ahead and hop in and see what we get. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I think is, it's one of the older games. This is probably one of the games that I'll phase out of my testing when I find a really good game, maybe like Starfield. Yeah, I think Starfield will probably replace this game. Probably. We'll see. But 88 FPS, 90 FPS, 73 for our 1% lows is excellent. 90 watts of utilization, 2400 on the core clock, 4.6 gigahertz on the CPU, 45 watts of power. Our temps are also still excellent at 63 on the GPU, 69 on the CPU, and the GPU is pretty much rock solid, hitting 925 millivolts on the voltage node. Yusef says, I appreciate you trying to cover as much laptops as you can. Great work. I'm starting a campaign for the Predator Triton 17X. So here we go. Day 2 of asking for the Predator Triton. So Yusef, what you should do, if you really want me to do that laptop, the thing you should do is find find Acer's marketing team and email them and tell them to email me and send me the Acer Triton 17X. That's the best way to get me the laptop. And you can reference this video, okay? You can be like, this timestamp on this laptop test, boom. Go send this timestamp to them and get me connected to Acer so they can send me review units and promote their products. Just because I'm trying to focus more on the mid and low range gaming laptops for right now. The really expensive ones, $3,000 or $4,000 ones, are harder for me to buy with my own money and have to resell, basically. Okay, so 150 FPS. Very high FPS, obviously, in this area of the map. As we stop looking in the sky and have to actually look and render stuff, we're going to see our FPS go down a lot. (2400 megahertz on the GPU boost clock, 95 watts of power, 76 degrees on the CPU, 50 watts of power to that CPU. You know, this system is handling gaming really well on max fans. I wonder how much performance you lose by going down to performance mode in an official benchmark test. I don't think it would be too much, just because we're in QHD resolution, so we don't really need that much CPU wattage, and that's the number one thing that's probably causing us extra heat right now. So let's see what we get for our QHD. Ultra settings with ray tracing enabled. Benchmark in Shadow of the Tomb Raider. (90 FPS). So that's excellent. Overall, very good performance in Shadow of the Tomb Raider. On ultra settings with ray tracing enabled. No problemo at all playing that. Let's move into The Witcher 3. See what we get. This is reminding me I need to keep playing through The Witcher 3. So I've been distracted with League of Legends Teamfight Tactics lately. I've been playing that the last few days in my free time. And so I haven't made any progress in The Witcher. And a game like that, it's just like a non-stop time sink. So I gotta not play it too much. Okay, so ray tracing on ultra, DLSS on quality, display settings, frame generation is enabled. We're going to go to 2560 by 1600 resolution. Just go ahead and verify our settings took hold. DLSS on quality, ray tracing on ultra, 2560 by 1600 frame generation enabled. Very nice. Let's go ahead and load the game back. All right, so this is our last game for today, and we're going to go into our overall thoughts and opinions on the laptop and everything we've seen. This is normal graphics performance for me. I am satisfied to some extent. Well, this is obviously very good performance because we're also running everything on ultra settings. And if you want higher FPS, you can just turn some settings off, you know, and then you'll see a lot better FPS. So, okay, so we're in The Witcher 3 now. We kind of look around a little bit. All right, so this is only 60 FPS. It's obviously very playable. But in general, I am thinking we would probably want to turn some settings down. Maybe just turn off ray tracing, probably. We'll turn that off and see what we get. Because in a game like this, I really want to be hitting closer to 90 FPS if I can. At least for a full PC gaming experience. At least our 1% low has been exceptionally consistent and smooth. 67 FPS so far, 53 for our 1% low, 93 watts, 96 watts of utilization on the GPU. We are GPU bound at 99% GPU utilization. And overall, very good performance in The Witcher 3. So, very nice. 67, 54. Very good, consistent performance. I think the biggest thing is I just want a little bit smoother gameplay experience, especially if I have frame generation and on. So I'm going to turn off ray tracing. See what that gets us. Okay, so turning off ray tracing, which actually I think looks better in this game. Now we're hitting 100 FPS, QHD, DLSS on quality with everything on ultra except for ray tracing being disabled. So, like, this game was originally made without ray tracing in mind. So, in many ways, the shadowing, I think, looks better with standard shadowing instead of ray tracing. But, yeah, very good performance. 101 with this, with these settings. So, even better performance than before. Now, I've got someone at the door. Doggos are barking. Let me go ahead and show you the Acer NitroSense. We're going to set our fans to auto. Carla, who is it? What's that? I don't know who it is. Anyway, so the thing I wanted to show you is if I go in here. Let me turn off the overlay here. Okay, so there's this cool thing called usage scenario. Okay, so your scenario profile will determine a lot of different things. You could do gaming, you could have daily use of gaming or max performance. Max performance could have max fans enabled, you could have quiet occasion, you could have gaming, you could have a office one, so you can say add new. I'm gonna call this one the office profile. All right, we're gonna call it office. Boom, all right. We'll have this be balanced, that's fine. Fan control will be auto, and let's say our lighting we'll put to static, and we'll just click in the middle. We'll just click right in the middle of this circle to give us white lighting. All right, so we have white lighting on the keyboard now. And what this does is it essentially allows us to go to like a gaming mode, and then when we get home, and I could go to like wave RGB lighting on the keyboard and have a little bit higher fans and all that stuff. And then when we get to the office, we click office mode, and it turns the keyboard into white. And so it all just fits into an office environment much better. I like that a lot. It's got a lot of functionality to that for anyone that's going to be switching between different types of environments, which a lot of gamers that can afford a laptop this expensive are going to be able to take advantage of that. Now, me personally, I would be like, woo, RGB, even in the office, but that's me. I'm not afraid of my gamerness, but depends on who you are. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the summary. Of everything we found out about the Acer Nitro 5 so far today. Okay. All right, so pros, cons, top deal. Is this the best deal you can buy for under $1,500? Let's talk. Acer Nitro 5 summary review begins now. We compared this at the beginning of the review to all the different laptops out there around the $1,500 mark, all the way down to like $970 for our top deal, the Acer Nitro 5, the 3070 with a QHD display. That laptop definitely gives you a bit more bang for the buck from a just raw GPU performance for money spent. That said, this is excellent overall performance for your money. The display is, I think, excellent for the money. We measured it at 477 nits brightness, above 100% sRGB when factoring in my color gamut checker tool, around 78, 79 for Adobe and P3 color gamut, also pretty dang good. And the screen is contrasty enough, looks very good overall. Great for a casual gamer, not quite as colorful as what you would want for a professional video editor or Photoshopper, unless you're okay with a little bit lower color gamut. You know, it's just not the ideal for that. You could use this for that, being 100% sRGB, but it's not going to be as vibrant or as colorful as the more vibrant and colorful displays out there. Now, other potential competitors, probably the top competitor to this is probably the Legion 5 Pro. It's going to be a little bit cheaper than this right now, given the price tag. I paid $13.49 for my unit when it was on sale a couple weeks ago. I don't know, like 10 days ago or something. And but the Legion 5 Pro is currently on sale for $70 less than this and has very similar specs, at least in a lot of ways. Overall, I think the Omen 16, Aorus, and Aorus 15X are also pretty good competitors, but this is very competitive. And I think it's a very compelling overall argument. But there are a number of cost-cutting ways in which this laptop is cheaper than some of these other laptops out there, okay? This does have G-Sync and Advanced Optimus, allowing you to switch the GPU on and off on the fly. I did not mention that before this point in the review, but I did check that and verify that it does have those features. You can see it has G-Sync right here, G-Sync sticker right there as well. Taking this laptop apart was a little bit difficult getting it to actually pop open. But once we got it popping, it kind of came off. You definitely will want good tools, good plastic pry tools for taking this laptop apart. Upgradability wise, it has two SODIMM slots for your RAM. Nothing is soldered. You can upgrade those to more RAM if you want. It also has an open M.2 slot. It comes with 512 gig SSD in here out the box. Not that much space, so you can add that second SSD if you want to increase your storage. And that would be probably the way to do it, so you don't have to mess with reinstalling Windows or anything, just by adding a second SSD. Now, quality control of the laptop, I feel like we had no quality or build quality issues. The hinge is sturdy enough, firm enough. It's not the most sturdy hinge though out there, but it's good enough. The flex on the laptop is pretty firm overall, but there is some flexy parts near the middle of the keyboard and the space bar here, but typically you don't press down on that area of the laptop anyway. The ports on this are also pretty dang good. You got 5 total USBs, 2 USB-Cs. One of those is USB 4, which is the high throughput, high bandwidth USB-C port version. And both of those USB-C ports support DisplayPort and 65 watt power delivery charging if you want to carry just a USB-C charger with you instead of the big power brick. And speaking of the power brick, it's a 330 watt pretty monstrous large one, larger than this laptop really needs, to be honest. So getting that 65 watt power delivery brick would probably be a smart idea if you go with this laptop. The webcam quality was decent, but not super detailed, pretty low resolution, and there's no Windows Hello on it. The keyboard is a 4-zone RGB keyboard. I can switch this so that we can get that back. Let's see here. Let's go to just gaming, I guess. I don't know. Let me just go to Wave. Let's go to Wave. There we go. Okay, so you can see the 4-zone RGB keyboard here. It's not super bright, but it's bright enough you can see it. I definitely think there's better RGB implementations out there. Not the most expensive keyboard, but the keys feel pretty good. It's a membrane keyboard. The touchpad, on the other hand, is plastic. It doesn't glide very well, and it's not as large as some of the other laptops out there. So I think the touchpad is definitely an area where you're going to get a lot better touchpads on more expensive laptops, and definitely an area where Acer saves some money. Speaker wise, speakers on this are not very good, but they're good when just delivering like mids. Like if you're just getting mids, it's pretty decent actually. And they felt honestly louder in the games. Oddly enough, I don't know. When we're just playing games and I was listening to the audio of the games, the game audio sounded pretty dang good. I don't know. It didn't sound as noticeable. When I'm listening to music, and there's a lot of bass, a lot of mids and highs all going off at once, everything becomes muddled and it's not very good. So overall, the speaker quality is like a 6.5, somewhere in that range. It's very low end. But because the fans on this can actually get very quiet, the speakers like when the speakers are going on, because the fans are so quiet in performance mode, inside of the different fan profile modes, I found that balanced mode, actually balanced mode is the right one to do. If you're in balanced mode, the fans are so quiet that you can easily hear the speakers that are on here. So no problem there. And you're still getting very good temps and performance in games, at least in Last of Us Part 1 when we did our speaker test with fan noise testing as well. And we also did detail fan noise testing as well. It was only, I think, 44 decibels, which is barely above the 42 ambient audio decibels. So the fans are audible, but the performance is still pretty good. And yeah, you can really hear the speakers for whatever the speaker audio is playing. You can clearly hear it. So that's very good. But just know this is not some super high quality speaker system for sure. Definitely a drawback compared to more premium systems out there that have higher quality, bigger speakers. Now, we already talked about the display. Let's talk about Cinebench R23. We got 14,150 in our 10-minute test, which is good enough for video editing, good enough for gaming, good enough for just about everything you want to do with a CPU, but you're going to do it slower. You're going to do it slower than the higher end CPUs. The new CPUs this year that are similar to this can do closer to 17, 18, 20,000, depending on which CPU it is, because it can go to higher boost clock. This is an older, basically RDNA 3 CPU. The RDNA 4 CPUs can go to higher boost clocks and are a little more power efficient because they're made on a smaller nanometer technology. So yeah. And then of course, if you go to the Intel or the 16 core 32 thread Ryzen chips, you can obviously get way more CPU performance out there. If you're after just CPU performance, this is not really the laptop for you necessarily, but this is a nice blend of good GPU performance for the money and decent CPU performance for your money and a very good display for your money. It's got like the three pillars of a good gaming laptop, and then everything else is just filler. It does it all right. Like it's an all right keyboard. It's an okay bare bones touchpad. The ports doesn't have Thunderbolt 4 support, but other than that, it's pretty good selection of ports. You know, mini SD card slot, headset adapter. The one downside with the ports, I will say, we only have a USB 2.0 over here, not even 3.2. 2.0, so this is only going to be used for your keyboard or mouse or something very basic for your input and output type of thing here. Let's talk gameplay performance. Apex Legends QHD resolution. We're doing like 170 to 200 FPS in QHD on low settings. Warzone 2, we were doing around 90, 95 FPS in QHD resolution. Doom Eternal was like 150. God of War was like 65, 70, but on original settings, we were doing close to 100. Cyberpunk 2077, we never did. We skipped Cyberpunk 2077, didn't we? Shoot. Are we going to plug in Cyberpunk 2077? I don't know. Wait, did we do? I don't think we did Cyberpunk 2077. Anyway, Hogwarts. QHD resolution, we were doing 60 FPS, 34% low. Turn off ray tracing, bam, like 90 FPS. A much better performance as soon as ray tracing was off. Dead Space, like 78, 80 FPS in our benchmark area, but obviously very playable. No, is it 74? It was like in the 70s, but turning off or lowering DLSS to balance from quality gave us like 90 FPS, which is much better. Last of Us in the 80 FPS range, QHD resolution, had to turn textures to medium to avoid 1% low stuttering, which is an issue with the RTX 4070. If you don't know, VRAM was only 8 gigs on this unit, which is tough when you're dealing with a QHD resolution, because a lot of the games that are just coming out want more than 8 gigs at QHD resolution with the ultra settings for sure. Many of the new games are going to be that way. So you're going to have to get used to turning textures down to medium or low, or at least not on ultra, or turning your render resolution for DLSS down to quality, from quality down to balanced or performance, because that also can lower your VRAM utilization. Dying Light 2, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and Witcher 3 were also very playable, though the Witcher 3, if you have all the ultra settings turned on, only like a little over 60 FPS, which is not really ideal, I think, for that game. You really want closer to 90. So disabling ray tracing gets us closer to 100 FPS. So this game is perfectly playable. This gaming laptop is perfectly playable at QHD resolution as long as you tweak texture settings down and occasionally have to turn off ray tracing in some of the most demanding titles. That's basically what I'll say. It's very good overall gaming performance. We had very good overall temperatures. The fan noise is very loud in max fans, but once you turn it to balanced mode, it was very good fan noise. Performance mode had fan noise going up and down. I would not recommend performance mode from a fan profile perspective. Quiet fans really limits your CPU performance, and balanced mode's already pretty dang quiet. So I would probably just run balanced. Not really much point in quiet mode unless you're like in a library and you really need it to be just super, super quiet. But yeah, in general, yes, I can recommend this. And I'm sure someone's gonna wanna know about battery life. This laptop has a Ryzen CPU and as long as you optimize this guy really well, by optimize, I mean don't have applications constantly driving the CPU or GPU to high levels of usage, you should be able to get good battery life, 6 to 8 hours when web browsing at least, maybe even a little more if you're really optimized, because we do have a 90 watt hour battery in here, so that's excellent. So really battery life is going to highly vary depending on how you optimize and use the system. Gaming on this is obviously going to kill the battery life in an hour and a half. Running just office applications with brightness on low and airplane mode, like just doing work or something, you could probably get more than 10 hours of battery life in that type of scenario. So it's just going to really depend on what and how you use it, what you do on it, and how much power you're using on it in the moment. But yeah, if you don't optimize at all and you're just web browsing, you're probably going to get like in the 4 to 6 hour range. Yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts on the Acer Nitro 16. Can I recommend it? Yeah, I mean, where's the major drawback here? I mean, for $1349, you get the QHD, higher color gamut, higher brightness display. That's better than most of the competition out there. You're getting a good thermal system that's keeping this thing very cool. You have the options. I mean, the main reason to not buy this. The main reason to not buy this is that you want a more premium experience. The premium experience you're missing out on this laptop, not a glass touchpad, no Windows Hello. The display brightness is not more than 500 nits, but it's close to 500. It's supposed to be 500 nits, 477 nits. And the color gamut on this is not as high as 100% Adobe RGB, which just makes things not as colorful, you know. And the more premium laptops that cost $500 to $1,000, $2,000 more than this have mini LED displays that are even brighter and more colorful. If you spend like $500, $800 more than this, you can get something with like 500 nits brightness with 100% Adobe RGB, which is a bit better than this. Yeah, and the keyboard, obviously not mechanical, membrane keyboard, and no Thunderbolt 4 support because this is AMD. So yeah, I mean, you spend more money, you get more features, but if having a plastic touchpad, lacking Windows Hello, and this color gamut brightness levels are good for you, there's not too many drawbacks to this laptop. I mean, it's obviously a plastic chassis, right? A plastic machine, but it seems well optimized and it's priced really competitively against other laptops right now. So this one is definitely one of the better ones to consider. If you're looking at, I think another top contender versus this laptop I have not mentioned yet is the Asus TUF F15, which I did a review of, also has an RTX 4070, normally priced at $1,400. That thing went down in price I think it was $250 off for $1149. That was insane deal for an RTX 4070. But that one did not have as good a display as this. This one's brighter. This one has higher color gamut, or at least very similar levels of color gamut. And it's a higher resolution. So this one has some distinct advantages over the Asus TUF F15. But that's up to you. Do you need a higher resolution display? And my recommendation for whether you want to go for full HD or QHD is how good is your eyesight. If you have above average eyesight, I would say go for QHD. If you have average or below average, then I would recommend going for a full HD if you have an RTX 4070, 4060, or 4050, simply because then you don't have to worry about VRAM utilization and you'll be able to just run everything on ultra settings, no problem. And you'll be more future-proofed in the sense that it's easier to run the games at full HD than it is QHD. Like 3 years from now, you'll still probably be running everything at high settings if this had a full HD display. If it has a QHD display, you're probably going to be turning settings down even right now, right? Even right now, you're going to be turning some settings off or turning them down because it's QHD resolution rather than full HD. So yeah, that's my Acer Nitro 16 review. Let me check chat and see how we do. Frenzy Esports says, is 1200p on the new 16:10 aspect ratio laptops a better res than 1080p? It just depends on what game you're playing. Some games benefit from the wider aspect ratio. Some games benefit from the vertical aspect ratio, like Fortnite players always looking up as people are building above them. They like a taller aspect ratio. But if you're primarily looking left to right in your esports games, having the wide aspect ratio is probably a little bit more advantageous. But yeah, I think overall, I think it's a 1200p resolution is just a higher resolution and gives you more detail in the games. Because it's just more resolution is just nicer because it makes everything just a little bit finer details, right? So Full HD Plus and Full HD is basically the same. It's about 10% increased resolution, so it'll be an increase in demand on the GPU and CPU by about 10%. So you're going to get like probably around 10% less performance too. Just the way it works, right? It's harder to drive more pixels, so you'll get typically less performance with the increased pixel count. But it depends on the game, because Warzone 2, for example, CPU-bound game, increasing the resolution really does not affect FPS very much. So each game's different, and if you're CPU bound, then increasing the resolution really won't affect your FPS. But if you're GPU bound, increasing the resolution will directly affect your FPS. So I hope that helped explain everything for you. Yeah, there's the Nitro 16 review. I'll see you in the next one. Sorry we didn't get to Cyberpunk 2077. I know some of you are looking for that, and I feel bad, but I got to end the review now. So thank you so much for your time. I'll see you in the next one, and hopefully that'll be soon, early next week. Peace out.